things Big 12.
Big 12 today here on Big 12 Radio, heard exclusively on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios. It is a fanatic Friday, and even though we don't have a Big 12 team in the College Football Championship, we're going to touch on that quite a bit today. Also, we'll be previewing all the Big 12 men's basketball weekend games, a full slate. It all starts tonight with Baylor at Kansas. Friday Night Lights.
Hoops. They call it Friday Night Lights if it's basketball?
I think I just did.
You sound a little stuffy, okay?
Man, I'm a little bit under the weather.
Yeah.
I am. Yeah. Lubbock got me. Hub City got me. I was not myself yesterday. I laid around from the moment I got home, which was about 3 or 4 in the afternoon, and then I'm feeling it a little bit today. I think it's just a little cold. You know, no flu-like symptoms.
You
just
sound like crap.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
But you look good.
Thank you.
I mean, consider the circumstances.
I mean, it's all about, outside appearances, right?
I mean, yes.
So.
You and I are both very vain, so it makes a ton of sense.
Right. Well, I'm glad you noticed.
Yeah.
He's Ari Timken. I'm James Westling. We've got T-Chains. We're back in our studio, our home base today. We've got Taman Turner, got this thing turned around for us, and then we've got Anthony Smith on the Big 12 studio side. Baylor, Kansas tonight, then a full slate of games tomorrow, and then there's one game on Sunday, Arizona State and Houston. Speaking of the Cougars, we've got Kelvin Sampson on the show. He is in hour number 3. We've got Norm Roberts coming up here in this first hour. But Ari, man, I know it's a big weekend for you, my friend.
Pretty excited.
How many Bears fun facts are we getting today?
No, we got to wait until we get the game. But, I mean, it's going to be cold. The one I said no, and then I'll give you a fun fact.
Yeah, you have too many.
So I think the temperature is set to be around 0 with the wind chill,
okay,
or below freezing.
Yeah.
Hoping there's snow. There's going to be a heavy wind too. But basically the stat is that dome teams are 1-15 in playoff games and playing outside in sub 40-degree weather.
Sub 40. We're way below 40.
Way below 40. And then, you factor in Matthew Stafford, who, is from the Dallas area, played for the Lions indoors most of his career, and then now the Rams. So he has a long history with playing at Soldier Field and not having a ton of success in the cold, but he is also experienced. He's very good. Puka Nacua is also arguably the best receiver in the game right now. So, maybe they have a chance to go 2-15 for teams under 40 degrees in cold weather. We'll see. I mean, it won't just be the cold weather that beats the Rams. That's what I'll say. But, I mean, look, the divisional playoffs, to me, it's two of the best days of sports because, I mean, you can just sit in and watch football for 6 straight hours, two consecutive days. I love it. To me, it's the best because it's like the deepest the playoffs without being, the championship game, Championship Sunday, where there's the 2 games on the same day. You get Saturday and Sunday of football, which is fantastic.
Well, man, I'm pulling for you guys.
And it's, look, the NFL's wide open. It's been a while since the Chiefs not only have not been in the playoffs, but it's just every year it feels like this time of the year the Chiefs are playing. And maybe there's a little bit of Chiefs in the Bears right now. They're calling some are calling Caleb Mini Mahomes. And then David just put his head down.
Nobody is calling him.
I don't think your mic's
David,
on.
I think you're muted, which might not be a bad thing.
Nobody is calling him that.
I don't know.
People are out there. They're saying
I've heard it.
Ari Timken is calling him
I've heard
that.
it. I've heard it. A lot of Bears fans.
Colston Loveland and Travis Kelce, they're basically the same players. So, yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. I actually see a lot of parallels. Now, the only difference would be it felt like because of Andy Reid and the Chiefs had everything around Mahomes. Like when Mahomes burst onto the scene, it felt more well-established. Like this is going to be a thing for a while. And I don't know that I quite feel that way yet with the Bears. But I do really like their chances this year. And can Caleb Williams sustain this over the course of his career? We'll wait and see. But right now, he's a dude. I mean, he is a big play machine.
I kind of feel like the opposite, which is this is just year 1 with Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams together, and this is just year 2 for Caleb in the NFL. So, a lot of growth with those 2 guys in particular, and look, their defense isn't good, so they've got a couple of drafts now, or draft coming up. to help solidify their defense. So, I mean, it's one of those things. It's like, I'm sure I'll feel, I say I'll feel good either way, but, when you're there, you got to win. So I'm excited for Sunday night. But we should talk about Monday. I think there's a lot of it. Let me ask you this. Okay, so you're kind of a sports fan.
Kind of.
So right now, the cheapest ticket price for the national championship game on Monday is $3,000.
$3,000.
And that's like nosebleed seats.
Yeah,
okay?
those are the worst seats in the house.
And I know people going because I have a lot of friends that are Indiana alums. Growing up in Chicago and even in Dallas, there's a ton of Indiana alums.
Oh, yeah.
So I know people going that are paying north of that per ticket. Would you ever pay $3,000 for a ticket?
Personally, no way, not happening ever.
Do you have a threshold?
Not necessarily, but
Would you pay $100 a ticket?
probably.
$200,
Yeah.
$300.
But so here's the thing.
If K-State were in the Final Four, would you pay $1,000?
If K-State was in the Final Four, oh yeah, totally.
$2,000.
No, I wouldn't pay $2,000.
So $1,000's your threshold.
I would say $1,000's my threshold for K-State basketball making the Final Four.
Why does it seem
actually
like,
maybe $2,000?
Okay, because I was thinking the same thing. Like if the Bears won on Sunday night, I'm going to try to make plans to go to the NFC Championship game, and then I was thinking like probably $1,000 would be at most what I would spend per ticket. Like $1,000 seems like a lot of freaking money. Anything over that, it's like, I don't know. $1,000's a lot as it is, like, and not like I would like jump up to pay $1,000 for a ticket, but I feel like that's a threshold where it's like, I'm not going to go over that.
Yeah, so I think this is a great exercise and very subjective. Kansas State's never been to a Final Four in my lifetime. They haven't been since the 60s.
And they're not going this year.
They're not going this year. Bob Huggins, 2027. Indiana, while I would say right now it's probably easy to think, oh, yeah, we'll be back. You might not be back.
No, totally. I'm completely with you on there's a parallel there between K-State Final Four. And really, I mean, a national championship in college football is way bigger than a Final Four.
Yeah, and even fans that spent $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 to go to Miami and watch Texas Tech, no problem with that, would totally do that. I mean, they haven't been there. But also, I would say they're a program that looks like they're very well established and will be back and maybe even playing in a more upper echelon game in the future.
Yeah,
so it's subjective.
Find a quarterback, and they might have a shot.
But then also, I almost think in some ways it's unfair to ask you or I this question because we work in the media. You were on the field for the damn Orange Bowl. I sit courtside for Big 12 basketball games all the time, and I'm in press boxes for football games. So personally, I wouldn't do it for me. With that said, you and I also have, boys that are at that age now where they're getting really into sports. And so I would pay this type of money. Sure, I'd rather book a trip to the Bahamas for me personally, but I would pay this type of money to create that experience for my kids, for my dad,
Great point.
for my wife. Because, I went to the and I was thinking about my childhood. Like, what were the big games I went to and how much my parents probably spent on it? We went to the 1998 Big 12 championship game for K-State football. It was the only Big 12 championship game that I've ever been to.
That was in Kansas City?
It was in St. Louis.
St. Louis, that's right.
So, like, my dad and
Edward Jones Dome.
Yep, the Fighting Kurt Warners, where the Rams played, and that's a core memory for me. I'll never forget it. We went with some friends of ours. It was just me and my dad. We road tripped with one of my childhood buddies who was living in Manhattan at the time, and even though K-State lost the game, it's still one of my top sports memories from my childhood. So to be able to create that for our kids, yeah, absolutely. But for me personally, if you give me a ticket to Jamaica or the college football championship game, I'm going to Jamaica.
Jamaica?
Sure, Jamaica's lovely. Sure, the beaches are exquisite.
T-Chains, what about you? Who's your number one? Like of all your teams?
If the Dallas Cowboys, because I've never really seen them be successful, were to make an NFC Championship game or a Super Bowl, I am going.
Yeah, when we were growing up, they used to go every year.
Go Rams. I really hope the Rams.
They did. This is a fact. They won every year.
They did. Yeah.
They haven't been since.
I'm very well aware.
They haven't been since, but they used to go every year.
That's where my hatred for the Cowboys was really developed and established.
Yes.
Was when they were going every year. And
Yes.
it's like, my God, come on, Buffalo. I've seen Four Falls of Buffalo. My goodness, that's a fantastic documentary. 30 for 30, Four Falls of Buffalo. Because I was there, man. Like, I was glued to my television thinking, this can be the year that Jim Kelly and Thurman Thomas and Bruce Smith, and they finally get over the hump, and then the Cowboys would just drill them.
Technically, they also played the Giants, and at the time, the Washington Redskins, and they lost to them too, wide right, the Giants. But, I mean, look, I probably pay $1,000. I don't know if I go above that.
See, $1,000. Like,
Yeah,
that's.
I don't know if I go above that.
Like, it seems like just a round number where it's like, that's a lot. Like, anything beyond that.
The good thing is if the Cowboys were to make it, at least I live here, so I wouldn't have to, like,
Travel.
fly. Yeah, that would be very helpful. But,
Yep.
you know, other teams, I mean, I know this isn't likely, but if my Hofstra, my alumni Hofstra Pride, made the Final Four, which is, you know, Jay Wright used to work there at one time. If they made the Final Four, I would totally go. 100%.
Guys, like Indiana, this isn't meant to be a knock against Bill Snyder or Scott Drew and what they've done. This is the greatest turnaround in sports history.
Yeah.
And it's happening in real time right before our eyes. I don't think that there's been enough perspective in terms of informing fans just how big of a deal this is and how down this program was. Like, they had barely been to bowl games. Their best season was 8-5 back in 2019. Kevin Wilson got them to 6-6, and that was a big deal. I mean, they had a stretch from 1993 to 2015. From 1993 to 2015, Indiana played in one bowl game. A year that they went 6-6 and got to the Insight Bowl. From 93 to 2015.
I mean, the biggest game on their schedule for years was Illinois. I mean, growing up in the Chicagoland, you know, there's tons, like, college football is not huge in Chicago. It's a pro sports town. But Indiana and Illinois were two of the biggest college programs because there's so many alum, you know, in that area. And that was always, like, for those two programs, the biggest game every year was the Indiana-Illinois game. Just a huge rivalry game between two teams that were basically irrelevant nationally. I mean, they're 200 games under 500. I mean, think about that. It would take them how many years?
Oh, yeah, all time.
Just to get back to 500 all time.
Yeah.
127 years of football. They're 200 games under 500 all time. 508 and 692. So not quite 200, but pretty close. So how many seasons? Like, if they win the national title this year, they'll go 17-0. How many 17-0 seasons do they need to get consecutively in order to get to 500 all time?
A lot.
It's insane. And look, I think, and I know we'll touch on this later, this is a really big moment for the Big 12 from the standpoint of every Big 12 school looks at Indiana and says, that could be us.
Totally.
And they're not wrong. Mm-hmm. That's, I think, the biggest story here from our vantage point is that every Big 12 football program should look at Indiana and say, why not us?
Mm-hmm.
Why not us? If Indiana can do it, why not us?
Absolutely. And why not Arizona State last year? Why not Texas Tech this past season? We've been closer, I think, than people think. Arizona State was picked dead last in the conference and competed their tails off and had Texas on the ropes. They win that game, who knows what happens the rest of the way, because momentum is a thing. But Indiana had been to just one New Year's Day bowl all time before last year's college football playoff and their run this year. Ever. Wow. All time in the history of their program, and it was 1967. You know who their coach was from 1973 to 1982? A little Big 12 Today trivia. Has nothing to do with the Big 12, but you'll know this guy. 1973 to 1982, Indiana was coached by Lee Corso. Great pick.
Well, and there's like two fairly well-known Indiana people with ties to Indiana. The other would be the color commentator for the Dallas Cowboys, the former Troy Aikman backup quarterback, Babe Laufenberg, who transferred from Stanford to Indiana, Indiana to Stanford, but was a quarterback in Indiana. And then, of course, there's Antoine Randall, who, when my oldest sister went to Indiana, I saw many Indiana football games with Antoine Randall as quarterback. He was the whole thing.
Yeah.
He was incredible. And then he went to the NFL, became a Super Bowl winning wide receiver with the Steelers, and now he's the wide receivers coach for the Bears.
He's the receivers coach for the Bears?
Yeah.
I was obsessed with Antoine Randall, even when he was at Indiana, because he was doing things that nobody had done.
And Indiana was so terrible, and he was like the only good player.
Yes.
Like he basically had to throw passes to himself.
Yes. And then he goes to the NFL. They move him to receiver. He's just as good.
Yeah.
And then the Steelers would use him on these trick plays because, hey, he can still throw decently enough to create another wrinkle to your offense. Great name drop. ESPN, their broadcast structure and their megacast overview for the national championship game on Monday will feature none other than former Oklahoma State coach Mike Gundy.
Ooh, and he's going to be wheels off.
Wheels off.
Wheels very off. Who else is going to be featured in the coach's room?
So they've got Gene Chizik, Jerry McGinn, he's a rules analyst, Dave Clausen, former head coach and analyst, Steve Adazio, the former head coach. He's not coached for a really long time. So, the dude is Mike Gundy.
Oh, okay. Now I got it.
Well, where was the confusion?
Well, I mean, the coach's film room got me all hot and bothered because it was awesome when they did it, but it was current head coaches and some of the big ones.
Right.
None of those are current.
No.
I guess I should have been tipped off by the fact that you said Gundy. Like, if it's Gundy, it's not going to be like Gundy with like Dan Lanning and Joey McGuire. That'd be weird. But
and I haven't.
When they did it previously, it was current sitting head coaches, a lot of big time coaches. I wonder why they went away with it.
It actually, and they might still be doing that on ESPN2, because I believe this is ESPNU where they're going to have the coaches' film room. They've got so many coaches, so many people just watching the game and providing commentary.
They have like 11 different broadcasts of the same thing.
And then they have the radio call.
By the way, it's
other
actually
channels.
pretty smart when you think about it.
Oh yeah, like this is the thing. This is their event. But Mike Gundy, this is the first time that he's really spoken publicly. Like Chris Kleiman did a sit down with the Manhattan Mercury that we touched on last week and went through the whole process of when he made his decision, how it all went down behind the scenes. He called Colin Klein and told him before it was public because he didn't want Colin Klein to take another job. Mike Gundy hasn't said a word. I mean, he's been hiding out. His house has been on the market in Stillwater for a long time now. He's trying to downsize. I'm sure he's been on the beach or in the fields with his cattle, but this is the first time like he's making an appearance. So it's a big deal. Excited to see it. He's Ari Timken. I'm James Westling. This is Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio. We are brought to you, the Full-Time Fan, by Modelo. Coming up next, we'll dive into some Big 12 men's basketball, a weekend preview. It all starts tonight in Allen Fieldhouse with a surging Baylor team at Kansas. What will we see from the Hawks? You'll hear from Bill Self coming up around the corner. Then we'll dive into all the games on Saturday before we chat with Norm Roberts, former St. John's head coach and assistant at KU. He's always great. He's been all over ESPN doing a really nice job for their studio coverage. He's going to join us here in about 20. It's Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio, exclusively on TuneIn and on Big 12 Studios.
It's a three. Alex Jensen was telling us today he doesn't want the pull up. He wants to get into the paint, kick it in space for a three like he did there.
Toppin spins over the shoulder, tosses it in. Traore.
Nice pass.
Brown with the finish. 8 on the timer. Here's McHenry against the freshman Penny. Gives it up. A three from the top. Hits the dot. Petty no. Offensive rebound, Toppin to the cutter. It's Anderson, drops it off the table for a slam.
No, you're exactly right. Too many people have forgotten about that.
Dawes from the top nails a three.
Full speed with his passing or going to the rim.
Bouncer to top it. Twisting, turning, and delivering.
Right now, if you're Texas Tech, let's get a great look, and if it's not there, let's get fouled.
Anderson, a deep three.
Pretty good look.
Swirls in. Texas Tech, 88, Utah, 74. 10th straight home win for the Red Raiders.
Big 12 today here on Big 12 Radio and on Big 12 Studios. Our Big 12 game of the week tomorrow, BYU at Texas Tech. It's at 7 Eastern, 6 o'clock Central Time. That is the marquee matchup in the Big 12 for tomorrow. But Ari, before we dive into this basketball stuff, so excuse me, sir. More proof how the NIL landscape has shifted things. There were 130 players that declared early for the NFL draft in 2021, just a few years ago. This year, there are only 42.
Wow.
There's only 42 early entrants into the NFL draft. Dante Moore's coming back, among many others that are coming back to college, making anywhere from $1 to, in the case of more, $7+ million to play this season.
Yeah, and I think, you just hit the nail on the head there. In a lot of cases, we're talking about, players getting financial opportunities to stick around or go elsewhere. There's reportedly a lot of money being offered to Ty Simpson, so I don't know if he is part of that group of the 40-some-odd that you mentioned, but, there was a point in time where guys would leave for whatever money they could get. Like, getting some money was better than getting no money, and you had guys that left early and then didn't even get drafted. I remember L.J. Humphrey from Texas, when Texas was in the Big 12, was a guy that left early with multiple years of eligibility left, didn't get drafted, ends up being, practice squad guy, which, that's $500,000 a year, but still, now the arithmetic's a lot easier. Unless you're going to be a, first, second, or third round pick, chances are you're going to go back to school because you're going to make a lot more money doing that.
Sam Levitt's an example. Brendan Sorsby's an example. Sorsby's off to the NFL if he doesn't have NIL and Texas Tech and their deep pockets. All right, let's dive into some of the Big 12 basketball games. Kansas on a heater after their 21-point win over Iowa State. They play Baylor at Allen Fieldhouse tonight. Baylor's won 2 of the last 3 in the series, but here's what Bill Self said about the Iowa State win being a confidence booster for this team.
Well, I don't think that, all games are going to go exactly the way you scripted. I don't think any team in America thinks that. You look at in any sport, you play close to your ceiling, and then there's many times you don't. But I do think it was a great confidence boost for us, and certainly, hopefully, will play a factor in us picking up some momentum for sure.
Yeah, these are two teams that are coming off their biggest wins of the season. So, I think when you look at this, it's not just Kansas that's coming off a nice win. Baylor, too, to go on the road and get a win like that is impressive. So, be interested to see, again, the Darren Peterson piece. I don't expect that Trey White can hit 6 threes again or 5 threes, whatever he hit. Some of those things that happened in that game you don't expect to happen. But, I think Cameron Carr and Tunde Yesufu, how they are able to penetrate and play against the perimeter defense of Kansas will decide this basketball game.
This will tell me more about Baylor, I think, than Kansas, because I expect Kansas to win this game. Even though Baylor's won 2 of the last 3, they didn't play last year at Allen Fieldhouse. It was 2 years ago, the last time the Bears had to go to Lawrence. KU won that game by 3, but Baylor had wiped away like a 21-point deficit and got it interesting down the stretch. Baylor's 44th in KenPom. They're 2-4 in Quad 1. That was a massive win for them at Oklahoma State, but they shot the ball at a historic clip. And they shot it poorly at a historic clip a couple of weeks ago at home against Iowa State. So Baylor's been up and down offensively, but to hang 94 on Oklahoma State tells me that if the shots are falling, maybe they can hang a little bit.
Well, and to that point, Kansas through the first 3 Big 12 games had not defended the way they had during the non-conference. They were one of the top 10 KenPom teams, or top 15, I can't remember, in KenPom defense heading into Big 12 play, and then gave up a ton of points with high percentage shooting in their first 3 games, and then looked really good against Iowa State. Was that Iowa State turned the ball over and missing shots on their own, or was that Kansas's defense finally breaking through? I think tonight's game will be an indicator of that. Is this more of a trend, or was the Iowa State game more of a blip and more on Iowa State not doing things and Kansas doing things to them?
Totally. That game is tonight at 8 Eastern, 7 Central on Fox. Baylor at Kansas.
Friday night hoops.
I like it.
Yeah.
Big fan.
Well, tomorrow's a huge NFL day, so I like the Big 12 putting a marquee Friday night game on the docket. I think it's a good idea.
Here's the slate on the Big 12 studio side. You're looking at all the matchups. So what is the biggest game tomorrow outside of Texas Tech and BYU? Texas Tech hosts BYU. That's the nightcap. It's a late start. Starts at 7 Central, 8 o'clock Eastern time. BYU 16-1. Texas Tech is 13-4. But then all the home teams won midweek except for Kansas State. UCF went on the road and put K-State at 0-4 in Big 12 play. So the home teams have been really good. Cincinnati plays at home against Iowa State. Utah's at home against TCU. Colorado plays at West Virginia, and the number 1 ranked team in the country is at UCF.
Well, that's the one I would say if we're trying to zero in on the best game that's not BYU and Texas Tech, I would say it's Arizona-UCF. Is UCF for real? They're hosting Arizona now, so Arizona has to go across the country, long distance travel, and let's see if UCF tests them. I think UCF can win this game without winning this game. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know that anybody expects them to actually win this game, but if they keep it close and they're competitive and they do some things in this game that test Arizona, especially in the interior, I think that's a success story for them.
Mm-hmm. UCF is 2-2 in Quad 1 games. They've not lost a game outside of Quad 1. They're 35th in the net rankings. Arizona's the number 1 team in the country. I'm really intrigued by this one to see if UCF can hang. Like, we know how good Arizona is. To me, it's a disservice that Arizona's not number 1 in every poll, not just the AP, but the net rankings and KenPom and Torvik. Those groups still really like Michigan.
I mean, why stop there? They should be number 1 in the college football playoff rankings, too.
Does Jaden Bradley play running back?
The Billboard charts? Why is it Arizona not number 1 in the Billboard charts right now?
The Billboard charts.
The MTV Music Video Awards? I mean, come on. That's an easy one. Just plug Arizona in there. I can keep going.
Can Arizona go on the road? The defense and the rebounding always travels, but I think they're going to have to knock down some perimeter shots.
Yeah.
Tobe Awaka hit a 3, had 25 points, a career high in their win over Arizona State. Their defensive rebounding and efficiency numbers on the glass are just absolutely insane. And then for UCF, their point guard, the Folks kid's going to have a big day, and he'll be tested. He had 13 points and 12 assists at K-State and really led the charge for UCF. Even though he didn't do it by scoring, he did it by just kind of being the catalyst, and he's going to be tested with Jaden Bradley coming in there on the road.
And I think, look, as we've said early on in Big 12 play, there's a clear number 1 tier, top tier, Arizona, Houston, and maybe it's Arizona, Houston, BYU, and Iowa State, or maybe it's Tier 1 Arizona, Houston, and then Iowa State and BYU are Tier 2, and then Tier 3 maybe Texas Tech, Kansas. So I think like UCF, it's like, all right, how real are they? Are they just going to beat up on the bottom feeders of the Big 12, which I admit now is funny to say when they beat Kansas at home last weekend, but still, I think this is a big deciding game in terms of, again, if they keep it close, they're competitive, they rebound well, and they can keep Arizona out of the paint a little bit, then they do some things I think that's translatable long term.
Completely agree. Colorado at West Virginia is intriguing to me because the winner of that game will be 3-2 in the conference. Both of those teams are quietly sitting at 500 in league play. If you go 500 in this league, in my eyes, you're a tournament team. No if, and, or buts about it. But this game's in Morgantown. Colorado has been really good at home. They lost a road game earlier this week at Cincinnati to give Cincinnati their first conference win. West Virginia looked really good against KU and then laid an egg on the road at Houston, which I think is just the byproduct of a first-year head coach.
Well, let me just say this about Colorado. They may have a good enough non-conference to get to 8 wins in conference play and make the tournament. So, I mean, you're saying 9-9 would get you in, and maybe 8-10 does, depending again on what your non-conference looks like and how strong your resume is.
Yeah, the Big 12 in the net right now, like TCU and Baylor are kind of hanging around in the mid-40s, and then after that, you've got West Virginia and Colorado both at 70 and 71.
Got it.
So they'd be on the outside looking in, but Colorado just hasn't played enough Quad 1 games. They're 0-1 in Quad 1 games.
Right.
West Virginia's 1-4. This would be a Quad 1 win
For Colorado.
But
a Quad 2 for West Virginia?
Correct. Because it's at West Virginia. If you win on the road, and it might even be Quad 2. No, it'd be Quad 1 for Colorado. It's top 75 on the road.
That's what I thought, yeah.
So massive spot for Colorado. The other games, BYU and Texas Tech, Iowa State at Cincinnati. The Cincinnati fans were booing Wes Miller midweek, and Cincinnati went out and got a win at home over UCF.
Now they get Iowa State, be it at home, but a mad Iowa State team that obviously lost at Kansas pretty badly. So they're going to get a focused Iowa State at home. This might not go well for them.
Iowa State 16-1 just lost their first game of the year at Kansas last time out. Before we get to Norm Roberts, BYU and Texas Tech. Is this more about BYU or more about Texas Tech saying, hey, we went to the Elite Eight last year. We have our 2 best players back. People are sleeping on Texas Tech.
Well, look, Tech is still 3-1 in conference play. So they're still very much in it in terms of Big 12 title picture. So this game is basically like a title game elimination, a Big 12 championship elimination game for Tech. Only from the standpoint of I don't know that 2 losses will be good enough. I mean, based on history, and 4 teams here, I mean, you've got 3 of the 4 at the top right now only have not lost in conference play. Is that right? Houston, Arizona, and Houston, Arizona, and BYU. Iowa State just had that loss, obviously. Mm-hmm. I mean, again, if the Big 12 champion has 1 loss, 2 losses, then this is sort of a must-win for Tech in terms of the title race. But I just think this is like a good early season. Like, which one of these 2 teams could potentially be national or title contenders in the Big 12?
Man, this game screams offense and shootout. And can JT Toppin keep it going against Keba Keita down low, who will draw that defensive assignment? And then who guards A.J. DeBonsa? Is it Lawan Watts, who's built like a football player? He's a tank. He's 6'6", 230 pounds. He can move. Will they put him on DeBonsa and try to bother him with his physicality? And then foul trouble, I think, could be an issue, more so for BYU. Like, can BYU avoid foul trouble? Because Texas Tech, neither team has a real deep bench. But Texas Tech is one of the worst teams in the country at getting to the free throw line. They're a very finesse-style team. Can they get to the line against BYU? I think they're going to have to because
BYU gets to the line.
Exactly. Like DeBonsa and Rob Wright and those guys live at the line.
Let's talk about these games with Norm.
Norm Roberts.
He's becoming a media star. Like, we're not going to have him very long, it feels like. It feels like we're a few weeks away from him being like, who you guys? No.
He's crushing it.
He is.
He's crushing it. My opinion, he's lapping Seth Greenberg on ESPN studio stuff. Like, they throw it to Norm, and, man, he is ready.
Well, and just knowing both of them a little bit, Norm's a much better guy.
Well said. Didn't mince words there. Norm Roberts, former St. John's coach and longtime assistant at Kansas, joins us after the break to talk college basketball. He's Ari, I'm James. This is Big 12 Radio.
Arizona, they're balanced at all 5 positions, Aaron, but what they really want to do is dominate inside the lane tonight. It's pretty clear Arizona State defensively trying to pack the lane and dare Arizona to beat him from the outside. But Karchenkov, the freshman, says, no, I don't.
Mayusin knocked down a 3 early. Let's see if Chop's got another one. Man, he's got 8, and they've all been mid-range. Leads the Big 12 in field goal percentage. He lets it fly. Grebovich bottoms.
And making him be a passer.
Pete to the rim. Foul.
He wanted no part of that. He basically conceded that layup.
Odom weaving into the corner. Here comes a 3, and it's back down to Mayusin again. That's his 3rd since halftime, his 4th overall.
Just hanging around right now. And these fans at the McHale Center, they're worried. They're feeling it.
Pete. Oh! He just brought it down. Trying to find Odom or Jop. And Odom almost gets his pocket picked. Under a minute to play now. Odom. Fouled! And he hit it, a chance for a 4-point play. Man! To go along with double-digit rebounds.
I trust Bradley, too.
Bradley fades. Bradley, he hits. The #1 team in the country is 17-0.
Back inside Big 12 today here on Big 12 Radio, brought to you the Full-Time Fan by Modelo. Our Big 12 game of the week this Saturday is BYU at Texas Tech, a top 15 matchup at United Supermarkets Arena in Lubbock at 7 Eastern, 6 o'clock Central Time. He joins us each and every week, the coach, Norm Roberts. Hey, Coach, good morning.
How you doing, James?
Man, we want to know who's coaching you, because we were just talking before the break. Your coverage at the studio during the KU Iowa State game for ESPN was fantastic, man. Every time they throw it to you, you are on it.
I appreciate that, man. I'm having a lot of fun, and guys like Kevin Connors and Seth setting me up, it helps out a lot.
What was your main takeaway from the KU win?
I thought that for the first time this year, at least since the Louisville exhibition game, I thought Kansas played so much as a team, where they didn't play and watch Darren Peterson get 21 in the first half. They played together. I thought Darren played with those guys as well. So starting the game off with Flory and Bryson Tiller being so aggressive and getting the ball to their big guys early, I think that really caught Iowa State off guard. And then I thought Darren did a great job of picking his spots. I thought their team did a great job of moving the basketball, because Iowa State's a great team, and they made sure they didn't play on the sideline, because Iowa State's so good at keeping you on the sideline. And then I thought defensively they were terrific. I thought they were terrific the whole night long.
Yeah, and on that front.
And when we look at Baylor and Kansas tonight, Baylor coming off a season high, 94 points. They've been up and down. Like, they had a couple games ago against Iowa State. They couldn't make a shot. Then they shoot like 75% in the first half against Oklahoma State. So what's your take on the Bears?
The Bears are very, very dangerous because they're so athletic. They're so athletic. They can get up and down. They can cause matchup nightmares when they play Yesufu at the 4 position and they play small ball. Now, Kansas should be able to match up with that, but they've got to be cognizant of starting the game off, getting the ball inside, attacking them inside, and then they also have to make sure that they defend like they did the other night. Because if you give them open shots and let Carr get going, they are an extremely dangerous team.
You know, Coach, I'm old enough to remember when these were the two best teams of the Big 12.
Yeah. It's amazing how things have changed. And, you know, the Big 12 is so deep, so talented, and teams are doing a great job of finding ways to win, even when they don't play as well as they need to play.
And that's the key, right? I mean, it's you're going to have a style, and you know, there's certain games where you're just be able to dictate everything, and those are the wins you'll get. But in the tournament, we know, especially, like, to win a lot of games, you're going to be forced out of your comfort zone, and it's how do you play outside of that? How do you play when you're not able to dictate, you know, on offense and defense?
You know, we used to say this, or I should say Coach used to say this all the time. You're going to play 10 games that you're going to be on fire. You're going to be great. You're going to be great. And then you're going to play 10 games when you're going to be average. Find a way. Then you're going to play 10 games that you may be awful. And now you have to find a way to win that game, either through defense, either through getting to the free throw line. You have to find changing defense. You have to find a way to at least be 500 in those games in order to have a chance to be at the top of the Big 12.
Talking with Norm Roberts, coached at St. John's, former longtime assistant coach at Kansas, joins us here on Big 12 today on Big 12 Radio. When you look at BYU and Texas Tech, the Saturday night headliner, top 15 matchup, A.J. DiBonsa for BYU and their big three against a Texas Tech team that feels like maybe they're a little bit undervalued right now when it comes to the national media and the narrative around the Big 12. So what's your take on that one?
I would tell you, Texas Tech, I really think they're getting better. They're getting better. After that win against Duke, I think they've come together as a team. They're getting healthier because they've had guys in and out. Their young guys like Petty are playing good. Atwell is giving them points off the bench because he can really shoot the ball. And obviously Anderson and Topping have been terrific. So that will be an unbelievable game. I believe it's at Tech, and that is an unbelievable environment. So that'll be something that Debanza and those guys haven't seen. I think AJ has been terrific. He is right on the cusp of being player of the year in college basketball because he has found a way to not only be a star scoring, but as a playmaker, as a defender at time, as a rebounder. And the other night, TCU gave them all they wanted. They got into foul trouble, had guys in and out. Olas had some injuries, and A.J. Debanza put the team on his back and found a way for those guys to win. So they're playing really, really well. It's going to be a great matchup. It's going to be how BYU handles the environment of Texas Tech. That's going to be a big key.
All right, since you mentioned Debanza, and we talked about this yesterday, if you are Kevin Pritchard, the Jayhawk, and the president of basketball operations for the Indiana Pacers, if they end up at the number 1 pick, who are you taking, Debanza or Peterson? Or somebody else?
Wow. That because they're going to get Halliburton back.
Right.
Naismith for Indiana has been terrific scoring the ball. Like I actually think they have enough two guards, wings to score. I'd probably go with Debanza. I'd probably go with Debanza just because you got Pascal Siakam kind of at the end of his career. He's been there a long time. You're going to need a replacement in Pascal, and Debanza would be a guy that could do that for him. So I think probably in that particular situation, I think I'd probably take AJ.
Coach, you noted something when you were talking about BYU and Texas Tech, and you said the biggest key for BYU is how do they handle the environment, going on the road and playing in a hostile environment like that. When you say that, what are the things as a coach that you know your guys have to do to win on the road like that?
I think you got to be very, very disciplined, especially in the first 5 to 7 minutes of the game, because the place is going to be jumping. Every shot, every play, the crowd is going to be going nuts. You have to be able to withstand that. You have to be able to withstand that, defend. Don't allow them to play good early and making shots and feeling comfortable. And then that gives you a chance to settle into the basketball game. Because when you allow a team at home, just like happened to Iowa State the other night at Allen Fieldhouse, you allowed that crowd to get going. They're already at a feverish pitch. Guys start making shots. It's hard to come back from that. And I've been in that environment at Tech where they start off with the pyrotechnical fire, all that type of stuff, and those people are going nuts. You have better be able to withstand the first 5 to 7 minutes just so your guys can settle in the game. That doesn't mean you're going to be winning. You may be down 6-5, but you need to be playing disciplined basketball at that time so your guys can settle into the game.
One of the other games that's intriguing is Arizona-UCF. UCF off to a really surprisingly good start, and Arizona obviously the best team in the country so far. What have you noticed from UCF, stylistically, from a player standpoint? Like, what have you noticed that stands out to you about Johnny Dawkins' crew?
Well, Johnny Dawkins has always been one of the best defensive coaches in the country. Always been that way. They really do defend. They've got such depth in their team. Such depth. They can play so many guys, and so many guys, give them credit, so many guys have stepped up in key roles and made big-time plays for them. So they don't really rely on one or two guys. They've got a bunch of guys that are playing their roles, that are aggressive, and in key moments of games, they have played really well. So it'll be an interesting game. Arizona is so deep, so talented. Koa Pete could be going. You think about it. Last game Iowa against Arizona State, Toby Awaka was the best player. Yeah, I mean, he had 25 and 10. He was a beast in that game. And that was a big key for Arizona. So they got other guys that can step up too.
Talking with Norm Roberts here on Big 12 today on Big 12 Radio. Norm, is there a team in the league that stands out to you in terms of you see them getting better on a weekly basis, and even through the first 4 games of the Big 12 slate that maybe people aren't talking about as much as they should?
I would probably say that would have been UCF. I actually was kind of high on Colorado because Colorado was doing some really, really good things, and they've started off pretty good. I know they're 2-2, but they've started off pretty good. That young freshman they have coming off the bench, Isaiah Johnson, he's terrific, man. He's terrific and doing a great job for them. But they've got length. They got to get Dak playing good for him. The big kid inside, he's got to play good. And Renzik, he's got to play good for him. But I thought they were a team that people really weren't talking about much. A dangerous team in the Big 12, and I know they're 1-3. TCU is tough. They've had a tough road. They played some tough games in their schedule, and that's up. But TCU, every single night, I believe they got a chance to beat any team in the Big 12, especially at home.
Yeah. Last one for me. I want to go back to my alma mater and a place you know well in Kansas. You mentioned the defensive end. Before conference play started, they were so good on the defensive end, one of the top teams on defense. And in the first 3 games, not so much. So what did you see anything, in that Iowa State game that lets you believe maybe they figured some stuff out that will go back to what they look defensively like? Or did Iowa State just miss shots and turn the ball over? Or was Kansas the cause of that?
I think Kansas was the cause of that. I think Kansas did a good job. They kind of changed up defensively a little bit. They had been switching 5 and switching 4 a lot. In that game, they went to a thing they call 32 defense, where the only guys that switch are the 2 big guys switch with each other, and the 3 perimeter guys will switch. And then they hard hedge on ball screen. And they did a great job in that game against Iowa State. Now, obviously, it depends on if the big guys can shoot from the perimeter and that type of stuff. So I thought Kansas did a good job of changing up. The other thing that happens, Darren Peterson is so good offensively that you tend to think when he's back, oh, we're going to be okay, we can score. When he's out, you're saying, hey, man, we can't let the other team score because we don't score it as well. So we really focus in on defending. I thought they had a great balance against Iowa State. They need to do that continuously and on a consistent basis.
Norm, what's it like for you, a guy that was in this game for so long as a coach, to sit back and watch Baylor and Kansas tonight? Number one, it's a different view because you're watching from a bird's eye view versus being on the floor. And then number 2, are you watching these games like still with the coach hat on, like, hey, we need to double this guy, we need to be looking for this OB play, or are you able to sit back and just take it all in?
I'm probably watching as a coach. I'll actually be at the game tonight, so I'll be in the stands. I'll be in the stands tonight, and that's tough too when you're in the stands because then you got everybody talking to you every 5 minutes. Hey, what's going on? And that's it. And the fans are terrific. But
right.
I would tell you, when you're watching, when I'm watching the Kansas game, it's hard. It's hard because I'm saying, come on, guys, we got to do this. We got to do this, and that stuff. When you're just watching the league and the guys play against each other, it's a lot of fun. It really is because you get to see different things. Hey, what are they going to do next? Where do they need to score here? How they're going to, hey, they're in foul trouble. What would they do? They maybe are going to go zone. That stuff's a lot of fun. Probably when I watch Kansas, I get a little bit more personal, I guess you would say.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
We had a lot of fun watching Kansas the other night, so hopefully we see more of that because, there's been some excruciating games here lately to watch as a Kansas fan or somebody that is as connected to the program as Coach Norm is.
Well, Coach, we appreciate your time, man. Enjoy the game tonight at Allen Fieldhouse. And
Rock Chalk.
We'll catch up soon.
Thanks, guys. Rock Chalk. Appreciate you.
All right.
Take care.
See ya. Norm Roberts, longtime assistant coach at Kansas, coached at St. John's, was a head coach for a handful of games at KU.
What a stud.
He's the man.
He really, what was the difference? Did they, we were asking the question, like, can they be consistent defensively? They were really good, and you saw early on in conference play where Kansas was switching everything, and then he just said it, like they switched to that what they call the 32, which is, the 3s switch, the 2 switches, right? So like your 3 perimeter players will switch, and your 2 bigs will switch, but only on bigs, only on perimeter players, and then you hard hedge. Just great insight. You're not going to get many places.
Yeah, he's the man. That is Ari Timken. I'm James Westling. Coming up next, we pivot back over to football in hour number 2, the Indiana way, and can Big 12 teams replicate it? Also, our transfer portal tracker series continues today with West Virginia. We'll have Keenan Cummings on, managing editor for WVSports.com at On 3, joining us a little bit later on during the hour. This is Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio. You're watching us on Big 12 Studios.
Second.
Right, the third. So tough to stop, especially in front of this home crowd. It is packed late night in Utah. Dave Fleming, Sean Farnham.
Against UConn, the only loss. They had to really rally late in that game to get going offensively, and a great job out of timeout by Kevin Young. I'd go back to Edmonds here if you can. Try to get him in a post-up situation where he rolls to the rim.
Toulson, catch and shoot, 3.
Would have been the cleanest shot that they had.
Right, crossover move. Rob Wright flipped it up, no good. Toulson, outlet to Harding. Leads Robinson. Robinson scores with a foul.
Minute or so.
We won't speak about what happened in that last minute. There's a good move by Brock Harding.
A confident move. Yeah, he's
right into the lane, got Edmonds up in the air. He didn't commit the foul, though. DeBonsa attacks. DeBonsa got it! Just a wild shot by Lelevichus. And that leads to the run out. DeBonsa, 3. Got it! BYU will try a little screen and roll. Right. Goes all the way to the basket and scores. Shot clock under 10. Keita gave the screen. They double team Wright, who finds Keita, and he got the basket to go.
Yeah, well, they win.
Check out the poll, though. Good idea. They need a nickname.
And they won the game. Really good second half.
Big 12 today on Big 12 Radio. Heard exclusively on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios. Taman Turner on the audio side, producing, putting together dynamite drops like the one we just heard. Anthony Smith on the video side. He's Ari Timken. I'm James Westling. All right, Indiana's overnight rise. The Curt Cignetti blueprint to success. Written by Brandon Marcello at CBSSports.com. The story of Indiana football right now. They're 15-0. They're playing for the national championship. They have an old team. Curt Cignetti is 64 years old. He did not get his first head coaching job until 2011 at IUP. He was coming off a 4-10 conference record in their previous 2 seasons when he got the job. They won their first 7 games by an average margin of 28 points, and he goes 7-3. Then at Elon, he gets the job there, small school in North Carolina. They had been 4-20 in conference play, and they had 6 consecutive losing seasons. He wins 8 games right away year 1. Then he gets the job at James Madison. We know what he did there, won a national championship at the FCS level. Here he is 5 years later at Indiana in year 2. All he's done is turn around programs. How does he do it?
Well, I mean, he has a plan and a process, and he sticks to it. I mean, he wakes up, gets to the office every day at 5 a.m. He's, kind of the first guy in, last guy out. And he's, as he says throughout this article, brought in the right people within that plan and that process. And I think, plan, process, people, those 3 things are very broad. So if you want to hammer down, what specifically is he doing? Well, his plan involves the schemes he's going to run based on the personnel that he has. And so he then recruits to that. We've talked a ton about, he recruits experienced players. Indiana's roster is extremely experienced, and it's the marriage of the scheme with experienced players that all have a level of hunger, and then the most important part is the buy-in. They all buy in, and they're all, versatile. The scheme might do one thing one week and then do another thing the next week. Again, for a broad kind of elementary stuff, this sounds like, but that's the secret sauce. You just have to do it. And that's the difference here. But I think what's important, and we've said this before, James, sorry to cut you off, but this is a blueprint for the Big 12 to follow. Every team that wins national championships or Super Bowls, there's always the copycat aspect of it. And not to say you copycat the exact blueprint here, but the game has changed. If Indiana wins a national championship, they'd be the first non-blue chip ratio teams to do it. So this speaks to the Big 12 overall because the Big 12 doesn't have any blue chip ratio teams. If Miami wins, it's ho-hum, this has happened before. We've seen blue chip ratio teams beat non-chip blue chip ratio teams in the national championship games many times over. Again, the blue chip ratio, every team that's won a national championship in the modern recruiting era, which spans 3 decades, has done it with having at least 50% of their roster be 4 or 5-star recruits. Indiana would be the first team to not do it. And I think what's happened is Alabama, LSU, you look at some of those teams, and they hoarded the best players. They had all of them. And now those players are more widespread, so rosters aren't as flush with that type top-tier talent, which has allowed a team like Indiana to break through. Mm-hmm. If Indiana played 2019 LSU?
Yeah.
They probably get smoked because there just isn't a team hoarding a level of 5-star and 4-star talent, NFL-level talent, that LSU had in that era. And same with Bama. So it's a different era that sort of allowed a team like Indiana to break through. And I think that big picture is huge for the Big 12.
I think, to your point, we've seen this before, but it's been a minute, and it was at a blue-chip program like an LSU in 2019, like those Clemson teams that made runs and won back-to-back national championships and had experienced older players. So the biggest thing that stands out to me is they don't have a bunch of stars. They have adults. Their 22 starters average 4.3 years of experience. Over 4 years in a 5 to play situation. 16 of their 22 starters are transfers, and their average rating is a 2.95 star. Not even a 3-star. Close, but not quite. So they're beating teams that have more talent with execution and discipline. And Curt Cignetti's rule is give me the guys who have already done it. And there's a linebacker for Indiana who calls his mom and realizes about halfway through the call that he sounds like his coach. And I don't think that's a coincidence. Players who want to be coached in the right way, culture carriers, guys that he brought with him from James Madison who are now doing it at this level. And there are a ton of parallels, I think, in the Big 12. I think you look at a Texas Tech, their experience. Now, they were all new this year, but for next year, they're going to have guys that have been in the system, transfers that are in year 2, and then they're adding a bunch of experienced transfers on top of that. And then in terms of like bringing your entire team with you, nobody's doing it more so in college football than Matt Campbell at Penn State and Eric Morris at Oklahoma State, who's bringing all of his North Texas crew with him, coordinators, players, deep, level graduate assistant coaches, the whole bunch.
Well, and Alex Golish as well. Like, this is a thing now. It's the SIG hire, right? I mean, it probably used to be where if Kurt Signetti gets hired in Indiana and he's bringing all his James Madison players, it's like, huh? These aren't guys that are going to win in the Big Ten. And he proved that they can. I mean, they still have holdovers. I mean, last year they had more James Madison holdovers, but this year they still have, I think, 6 or 7. Including arguably their best player, probably arguably their second best player, and Chase Surratt, the wide receiver who came over from James Madison. So, yeah, I mean, Eric Morris is like a carbon copy of, come to Oklahoma State and bring your whole team with you. We want that team. And there's no questions on whether or not it would work because, again, it's twofold. It's, you need the guys that are the conduits to the new players of the roster. Hey, this is the way he wants things run. Like, those are the leaders in the locker room that are going to help spread his gospel, help spread the coach's gospel. That was probably more than anything instrumental in the success of Indiana's program is that Signetti brought a lot of guys from James Madison with him that could help spread his gospel. And so then when you bring in new players, it's like they're more familiar with it because the players around that are from there will help to infuse that culture. So it's a cheat code to culture building.
Eric Morris at Oklahoma State, of all the first-year head coaches, even though they have the most roster turnover in terms of players, they're going to have the most connected roster because it's everybody from North Texas, it's all the same coaches, it's culture guys. And when Kurt Signetti got the job in December of 2023, they had 10 offensive starters in the portal. They had 1 defensive returning starter. Their roster was down to 40 scholarship players. So what he do? He went out and he picked up 22 guys in the portal, all guys that were 2 or 3 year starters, and here we are 2 years later, and back-to-back college football playoff appearances in a national championship.
Yeah, one SEC coach is quoted in this article. He says, quote, "Whenever you're structuring a pro environment, you have to get a coach that's hungry, that wants to be in the office every day. That permeates throughout the building. You're going to have a bunch of 3-star guys, but they're going to overachieve because there's a system in place that's worked. There's a lot of buy-in. Everybody's pulling in the same direction." And, I mean, basically, Signetti's done a great job. Signetti's done a great job of squeezing out everything that these players have, and they want it. They buy in. And, by the way, like, there's as many as 16 Indiana Hoosiers that are projected to be NFL draft picks. So, I made the LSU comparison, and, like, LSU had a ton of draft picks. I think that maybe the difference there will be those guys might overachieve in the NFL too because they're all not going to be first-round picks in the same way that LSU players were from that team. The high-end level isn't there, but still 16 draft picks is 16 draft picks.
That starting experience, 4.3 years.
And by the way, Miami's at 4.1.
Exactly. That's where I was going next. This isn't just Indiana. Like, this isn't just a one-off, an outlier. It's no coincidence that older teams are playing in the national championship because they don't make the mistakes that young teams do. Their alignment, their precision, knowing the playbook, being able to balance being an online student and everything that comes with social media and the fans and the pressure. Those older teams are less likely to beat themselves. So who are the oldest teams in the Big 12? Like, if I'm thinking about this past season and next year, I go Texas Tech and I go BYU, who just played in the Big 12 championship game. They were the 2 oldest teams in the Big 12. Played in the Big 12 championship game. BYU maybe would have made some noise in the college football playoffs. So if I'm looking at next year, I'm looking at when we do these transfer portal trackers, who's bringing in experienced transfers who have produced at their last stop, and who are going to be some of the oldest teams in the Big 12 next year.
And again, when you look at the Arizona State team the year before, I don't know that they were that experienced, right? I mean, Sam Levitt was an underclassman, Jordan Tyson. So, it's important to note there's more than one way to skin a cat, right? I think when we think about, copycat league or blueprints, it's not just it's a carbon copy. It's, have a plan and then find players that can help you execute on that plan. It sounds so elementary, James, but, I think in college football, you've got a lot of collectors. I'm going to collect players. I'm going to go to the portal. I'm going to find guys that are good. I'm going to collect them. I think what we saw from Joey McGuire, what we've seen from Kurt Cignetti, is they're not collectors. They're going into the portal with a specific purpose to get specific types of players. That's it. That's the blueprint. The blueprint, getting older, yes, is probably important. I'm not trying to diminish that. But I also think, next year, if another team wins a national championship, is there a different blueprint? That's sort of the way it goes. I just think, big picture, holistically, this is huge for the Big 12 because it says you can do this. It's proven now, especially if Indiana wins. If they lose, I don't know that it changes much beyond the fact that it's another blue chip, non-blue chip ratio team losing another blue chip ratio team. So the blue chip ratio thing still stands. And then the other part to this that I think is really important is Kurt Cignetti the best coach in college football right now?
Yes, right now, as of today. I mean, he's playing in the Natty.
What about Mario Cristobal? If he wins, is he the best coach of college football?
In terms of who's done more with less?
Well, and that's what I'm asking. How you defined who the best coach is, maybe you'll use that. What about long term? Do we think Cignetti's the next Saban and that he's going to win multiple national championships and be there every year?
Right.
I mean, what if Indiana's 8-4 moving forward? 9-3. Good. That's good. Better than they've been consistently, but not at this level.
I mean, something tells me they're going to be here to stay. Uptick in recruiting. I mean, they're
still not a blue chip ratio team, though.
Not a blue chip ratio, but 70% of their portal guys, and they're taking less players now. They're being more selective than they were even before. Now, how much do you think that part of this is the fact that he's had the same coordinators with him at every stop for over a decade? His defensive coordinator, Haynes, I think it is, has been fantastic. And he was with him when he got hired at IUP. IUP, which is a Division II school. That was his first head coaching job back in 2011. Indiana University of Pennsylvania. Time is a flat circle. Kurt Cignetti's first job was at Indiana University of Pennsylvania.
Well, and Saban basically told him, you're going to leave Bama for that?
Yeah, because he was the receivers coach at Bama.
And one of the top recruiting coordinators. Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any question about that. And will they continue to be able to retain those coordinators? That gets harder and harder the larger you win. And I think, to me, that's what separated Saban was, look, nobody's going to recruit at the level of Saban because things are so different now. But the ability to lose coaches and coordinators and still maintain that level of excellence, that's a different cat.
Something about the Nick Saban coaching tree is bananas. Mario Cristobal was on his staff at Alabama.
Yeah, every coach in the Final Four was involved with Saban. Yeah.
And Cristobal failed his first head coaching job at FIU. He got canned. He was there for 6 or 7 years. His last year, they go 3-9. He gets hired by Saban at Alabama. Next thing you know, 4 years later, he's the offensive coordinator at Oregon. Then he's the head coach. Now he's at Miami. And his Miami teams have gotten better each and every year during his 4 years.
It's sort of interesting. There's been so much written about Cignetti and so much talked about him in Indiana, for rightfully so. It feels like Cristobal's such a side story here, and in some ways they probably should be the favorite. It's crazy.
What is the line?
I mean, Indiana is the favorite, but when you look at NFL talent, which isn't going to dictate lines, but then also the fact that it's a home game for them in their home stadium, I mean, it feels like a toss-up to me.
Let's see. The line, 8.5 is what I see at DraftKings.
Wow.
Maybe it's moved. That was 3 days ago, but 8.5, Indiana. Cristobal went 5-7, then 7-6, then 10-3, and 13-2.
I still think Indiana wins, but I would take Miami plus the points.
Okay. He's Ari Timken. I'm James Westling. Coming up next here on Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio. Each and every day, we are getting you up to speed on transfer portal movement, our transfer portal tracker. We deep dive each team in the Big 12, working our way through. We've done Oklahoma State and Colorado, and today we hit West Virginia. So we go out to Morgantown, had a ton of roster turnover last year. They've been very active in the portal once again. They're bringing in some studs. We'll break it all down after the break. He's Ari, I'm James. We're powered by Modelo here exclusively on TuneIn.
Cincinnati in the white uniforms with the black trim, and Colorado in the road black uniforms. Dallin, Tad Boyle told his team pregame that Cincinnati is like a wounded animal. There's Barrington Hargress, the lone D1 transfer, and he threw it away. 4 straight turnovers on Colorado. Harris again!
One transfer in the team. He really gives them something. He's playing with that aggression right now. His teammates have to meet it.
Whoa. Miller from the rafters.
Scoring and rebounding, and then you lose him. They were building a lot around him, and then he got hurt at the end of October.
Celestine rips it away into the pocket of Jizzle. Miller and one. Gets his own rebound. The Sanders cleaned up the miss. Sanders thought about the three, tries with the left hand, finishes strong at the rim.
But if you're not going to defend, how can you? If you're not going to make shots, how do you affect the game in other ways? Defending is the key one.
Isaiah Johnson, a pull-up three.
Hey, sometimes you want to help people out. You know, you have to help her do your job.
There's Johnson. Cincinnati trying to put a win on the board in Big 12 play for the first time this year. Miller already has 20 points, make it 22. 7-point lead. Colorado needs to act quick. Johnson with the left hand off the glass and in.
Just a sick hesitation to go. The second free throw. You got to want to take the fight. You got to want to accept the physicality.
Last second heave from Bangad Dak. Not good. As Cincinnati wins it 77.
Big 12 today here on Big 12 Radio. Heard exclusively on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios. We are brought to you, the Full-Time Fan, by Modelo, here exclusively on TuneIn. Watched on Big 12 Studios and Big12Studios.com, the Big 12 Fast channel on your Roku device, Amazon Prime Video. We're on YouTube, streaming live there, DirecTV. Our game of the week this weekend for basketball is BYU at Texas Tech, Saturday at 7 Eastern. 6 o'clock Central Time. This is the Big 12 Conference. This is a different league. I actually think that game's at 8 Eastern, 7 Central, but I'll confirm that. And by I'll confirm that, I mean T-Chains. We'll get on it right now. All right, so somebody on this show 2 years ago had West Virginia as their pick to win the Big 12. Neil Brown's out, Rich Rod's in. Year 2 of the Rich Rod era. Why are you scowling at me?
Oh, yeah, you're right. I did.
You did. Now, are they going to win the Big 12 this year? Probably not. There's a lot of really good teams. But who could be next year's like Arizona? Year 2 for Brent Brennan. Houston, year 2 for Willie Fritz. It'll be year 2 for Rich Rod in Morgantown. Transfer portal tracker, West Virginia. I love what they've done at the skill positions. Scotty Fox will be back next year, as far as we can tell, who had a really solid freshman campaign. He'll be challenged at that position, but when you look at what they've done, what stands out to you?
Well, if you're asking could West Virginia be that second-year Rich Rod surprise team, I don't see it. But I think 2026 for West Virginia is about building foundation to potentially become that surprise team in 2027. You mentioned Scotty Fox is back. I like that they brought in Michael Hawkins from Oklahoma to compete with Scotty Fox at that position. You know, I think the greatest success that West Virginia can have coming out of 2026 would be to solidify that position. You know, I mean, Fox looked good at times, but he still, was inconsistent and still was a true freshman. I think 2026 is about establishing the guys that could be the foundational stars in 2027. They lost a ton. I mean, especially at wide receiver. I mean, they're basically having to start over from scratch at wide receiver. And this is where I'm not sure I agree with Rich Rod's approach. He's got a lot of young players coming in. They've got 3 4-star recruits. They've got the number 1 JUCO player at wide receiver coming in. So Rich Rod is trying to stay young in an era where we just talked about getting older. And especially given some of these young guys that he brought in last year are leaving now after having success. Cam Vaughn was their leading receiver. He's going to Miami now. Mm-hmm. Rodney Gallagher, he signed with Arizona. So their top 7 receivers last year are not returning, and the room's basically being rebuilt. Now, there's some talent there, and I can't wait to see him. I mean, Keon Hutchins is the JUCO guy from Northwest Mississippi State Community College and Northwest Mississippi Community College. And, I mean, he's a burner. They're bringing in Teron Francis, who's a former 4-star track star at LSU, who was a true freshman last year, didn't see the field. So, you just look at the guys they're bringing in, and not a ton of production, which is why I think, again, 2026 seems like the table's set year. And I'm not trying to say, they can get to a bowl game. There's things they can do that would be overwhelming successes, but ultimately, beyond how many games they win, I want to see West Virginia use 2026 as a building block towards a more successful 2027.
Their portal activity has really slowed down, and maybe that's by design. They have 27 commitments for next season.
They've got over 40, though, that are coming in as true freshmen.
Yeah, a lot of freshmen coming in. They have 49 outgoing players, but they had a top 20 transfer portal class the first week that the window was open. And now they're 14th in the Big 12 out of 16 teams when it comes to transfer portal additions alone. I like Teron Francis, the receiver from LSU. I really like the receiver that they've brought in from USC. Again, these are guys, though, to your point, that don't have experience. They were not on the field. They were both highly touted high school players. Prince Strachan, I believe is how you say his last name, the receiver from USC, who's 6'5", 215, and was a track superstar in Florida in high school, which is why USC took a flyer on him. He could be really good, but again, he's unproven. And then they add a receiver from UConn. They add a receiver from Troy and DJ Epps, so it's a completely new wide receiver room. But I think Michael Hawkins Jr., 4-star out of high school. He spent his first 2 years at Oklahoma, had an up-and-down freshman campaign, sat behind Mateer this year, but in the game that he did play, he had 3 touchdowns, no picks. He's a dual-threat guy that I think system-wise is a perfect fit for Rich Rod and what he wants to do at that position.
Well, and I think maybe the greatest acquisition that West Virginia made this offseason was bringing in Rick Trickett, who is a former West Virginia offensive line coach and has been with Rich Rod multiple places and multiple stops. I mean, I'm surprised Trickett didn't come over immediately with Rich Rod last year from Jacksonville State, because Trickett has been at Jacksonville State the last few years and worked under Rich Rod as the offensive line coach of West Virginia between 2001 and 2006. So he's now takes over as the offensive line coach. And you know, their biggest recruit is Kevin Brown, a 4-star offensive tackle, and I mean a potential anchor on your the left tackle. But here's my issue as I look at this. Like, okay, so let's say they solidified their offensive line this year, and you know, it's a lot of young players. It's like, if they have success, are they out now? Does West Virginia have the money to be able to retain these guys, or is it like a Cam Vaughn situation where it's like they've got a good year and it's like now they're going to Miami, now they're going to Indiana, now they're going to Ohio State, now they're going to Georgia? That's the issue that I have, and that's been the case here pretty consistently for West Virginia, and that's probably something that Neil Brown would be like, yes. I mean, look at some of the best players that Neil Brown had. After they had those best seasons, they left and went elsewhere. I mean, Akeem Messidor is playing in Miami now. It's a guy that was really good for West Virginia. They had a defensive back who's one of the tops in the nation, and then he left and went somewhere else. I mean, C.J. Donaldson was at Ohio State this year.
Yeah.
So, you know, like, that's where I wonder if the approach, and this is where, like what we were just talking about, right? Like, get old, stay old. Everybody, you need a plan. What's your approach? I think Rich Rod's plan of let's build a young roster and try to retain those players, I hope it works for him, but recent history suggests it won't, and that he should have gotten older.
The offensive line is intriguing to me. They've brought in, like you said, Brown, the 4-star, but they've also brought in 4 other offensive linemen, part of this 27-member class.
So you got K-Stater, Devin Vass.
Yeah, and he played quite a bit for K-State this past year.
He's from Lakeland, Florida, which is a powerhouse in football. Go ahead. You know more about him than I do.
The West Virginia, like, that system is built to be offensive line friendly, and they didn't have the horses last year and still competed in the trenches. So if they finally have the dudes up front, the offense could be really dynamic.
Yeah, Amari Grayson, Devin Vass, Karsten Cassidy, Deshaun Woods are guys that are projected to be transfers or players they've retained to start along their offensive line. Maybe Kevin Brown works his way into the rotation as a true freshman 4-star. But I think Rick Trickett is a guy from his experience that they expect to kind of turn around this offensive line right away. And, I mean, like most teams, as we talk about, especially the ones at the bottom, like this first week, as we focus in on these teams at the bottom of the league, it's like all of them had bad offensive line play. Can they improve their offensive line? If they do that, they'll be much better this year. Easier said than done, but you know, it's a common theme amongst these teams here in the bottom quarter of the league.
Mm-hmm. The other guy, and you brought up C.J. Donaldson, who was a really good running back for West Virginia 2 years ago. He transfers to Ohio State, and he was like their bell cow this season. I mean, he was their dude. At running back, they've added, and I've kind of saved the best for last because this is my favorite dude, Cam Cook at running back, the nation's leading rusher last year. And Cam Cook might sound familiar because he was the running back at TCU 2 seasons ago when they had no offensive line. They couldn't protect. There were no holes for those backs, and he says, I'm out. So he goes to Jacksonville State, leads the nation with 1,700 yards, averaged almost 6 yards per carry, had 16 rushing touchdowns, was the Conference USA Player of the Year, and an All-American. And he's at West Virginia with Rich Rod to be their number 1 back. Last year, they had a whole slew of backs and so many injuries and still piled up yardage.
No, you're right. And, I mean, remember going into the year, we thought Jaheim White would be the guy. He was set to be one of the top backs in the Big 12 and basically was hurt the entire year. So that's a great call. That's probably their most important off-season acquisition, is bringing a guy in Cam Cook that had the potential at TCU but never really showed it Then he goes to Jacksonville State and runs wild, and you're like, oh, okay, now I see what he could do. We'll see if he can duplicate that success. And again, hopefully health too plays a factor in that as well.
And remember, Jaheim White is out. Jaheim White is transferred out. He transferred to North Texas to be reunited with Neil Brown. It's like 6 degrees of separation.
Totally.
You got Eric Morris, North Texas to Oklahoma State. Neil Brown gets fired from West Virginia 2 years later. He's the head coach at North Texas, which was a really interesting hire for them because they had been hiring guys that were assistants at other programs, kind of up-and-comers, younger guys. Neil Brown, he's been a coach at a power conference school at West Virginia, and he's going to North Texas. So they'll look very different next year in the backfield. Defensively, they were pretty good this year, got a lot better, I felt like, as the season went along. On defense, let's see, they've added Harper Holloman from Western Kentucky. They've added a couple of linebackers, but defensively, it looks like for the most part they're going to kind of lean on guys that have been there. And remember, last year they had 70 portal additions. It was insane. This year that number is way down, which tells me maybe they've retained the players that they wanted to retain for next year.
Yeah. I mean,
that's the glass half full angle.
Yeah, and look, I mean, maybe they'll be a huge surprise team. For me, if there's one surprise team that we've talked about this week, which would be the bottom 3 teams in the league so far, which was what, Oklahoma State, West Virginia, and who we do yesterday, Colorado?
Colorado.
To me, it's Oklahoma State. Based upon the Kurt Signetti principle, bringing in a ton of players that have had success in North Texas, and I mean, here's a guy in Eric Morris that's been overly successful from an offensive standpoint with his quarterback. That's the common. There's a lot of question marks around Julian Lewis. I think it'll work with Juju Lewis and Brennan Marion as offensive coordinator. I like the talent with Scotty Fox and Michael Hawkins, but huge question marks here. Again, I think West Virginia, this 2026 is more of a table set year. Just give me something where I can go into 2027. There's some players here that popped in 26.
Make a bowl game. They were close last year. Making a bowl game would be another major step forward. And it's like a fresh start for Michael Hawkins. So how does he handle maybe being the guy, or maybe it's Scotty Fox? They'll have a quarterback competition in the spring and fall. Coming up next, a managing editor for WVSports.com. He's a writer for On3 Sports, the West Virginia affiliate. He's all over this recruiting stuff. Keenan Cummings will join us next here on Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio, brought to you by Modelo. You're watching us on Big 12 Studios.
Silva and West Virginia's Carter McRae. TCU wins that tip-off, and away we go from Morgantown. Miles with 5 to shoot, pops and hits the 3. Olivia Miles, her 29th triple of the season. And a break for Marta Suarez, first appearance from Veronica Sheffy, the San Diego State transfer. In the right corner, Harrison, space, drives, nice layup for Jordan Harrison at the buzzer.
Yeah, and that's where Jordan Harrison can be so lethal. If she's the first player out here shooting, that's greatness. That's a player that wants to be great, that is great, and understands how to do it.
Nearing the point where TCU might need Miles to stick this team on her back.
Yeah, I thought last possession you kind of got a glimpse of that.
On cue, Olivia Miles with her 4th tray of the ball game.
You've got to get TCU away from the rim where they are uncomfortable.
Harrison for the triple and the bouncing. On the baseline, Wheeler rejected. Thought about it, passed it up. Hunter makes the first. Does she try to miss the second? She sinks it, rattles it home, and it's a 1-point West Virginia lead.
I think Olivia Miles, if she sees a glimpse on the 3-point line, she's taking it. If not, it's get as close as you can for 2.
Hunter inbound, Silva for 3 and the win. There it is! TCU with the dagger, and it comes from Marta Suarez, the team leader in threes, and TCU. They'll look at the clock here, but otherwise TCU escapes Morgantown with a 51-50 win over West Virginia.
This will be year 2 for Rich Rod 2.0 in Morgantown, West Virginia. With Ari Timken, I'm James Westling. West Virginia, the team we're highlighting today as we go around the horn in the Big 12, our transfer portal tracker and managing editor for WVSports.com. Writes for West Virginia with On3, a Heisman Trophy voter. Keenan Cummings joins us now on the show. Hey, Keenan, we appreciate your time.
Hey, thanks for having me on, guys.
Man, you're all over this recruiting stuff for West Virginia. So we see 49 out. We see 27 in when it comes to the portal. But who are the studs that West Virginia fans need to know and that could put the Big 12 on notice?
Well, I think you got to start for West Virginia at least. It's not necessarily going to get people as excited, but when it comes to winning football games, West Virginia had to go out and get some offensive linemen, and they did that. So far, they've been able to add 5 guys, guys that have experience at schools. You know, West Virginia lost a lot up front. Last year, they had to go in and fill some spots, and out of the 4,500 some snaps last year, they're only set to return about 1,800. They went out and added, Devin Voss, Cameron Griffin, Wes King, Karsten Cassidy, and Amari Grayson. You know, that combined last year, that's almost 4,000 snaps and 59 starts. So they needed to do that. They were able to do that. And maybe some work still ongoing there. We'll see. But that was one need that Rich Rodriguez made a priority. In terms of skill guys, the guy that kind of pops out is Cam Cook from Jacksonville State. Spent some time at TCU earlier in his career, had 9 touchdowns. And then he went to Jacksonville State and absolutely exploded. Led FBS in rushing last year. Had 100 forced missed tackles, which is more than West Virginia ball carriers forced combined as a team. So I think that that's going to help them a lot as they try to establish that run game. And you can go down the list. The thing I think that West Virginia's done a good job, when it comes to building the program, not necessarily for 2026, but even in the long term, is they're getting guys that have multiple years of eligibility, some high upside guys. They have 27 transfers in right now, and 14 of those have multiple years of eligibility.
Which is interesting because West Virginia lost a ton of players this year. I mean, Cam Vaughn's going to Miami, and you look at just their history with Akeem Messidor and C.J. Donaldson, and who is that big shutdown quarter they had that left too? Is that the right approach, Keenan, or should they be looking at maybe getting older, knowing that they've just not been able to retain some of their best players after having some of their best seasons?
I think it's a mix of both. I think that Rich Rodriguez made a plan kind of early into the season that they wanted to build for the future. They had a big foundational class from the high school level, signed 47 kids, and it was a class that's ranked right at the top of the Big 12 according to Rivals rankings and On3. And I think that they did a good job there. Now it's about filling those immediate needs. They went out and got some guys that are going to play immediately out of the transfer portal, address their key positions. They still got some holes to fill. I think they need to get a safety, some defensive linemen, probably a pass rusher and a linebacker. But they've gotten a lot of older guys. And when I say multiple years of eligibility, some of these guys have 2 years left. So they've played a lot of football, but they do have some of those high upside guys, like a guy that came from LSU, Teron Francis, a really highly recruited kid that only spent a season there, but is the type of guy that can have a lot of success at West Virginia. Michael Hawkins, quarterback from Oklahoma, has 3 years left, has experience under his belt. He's a guy that obviously fans are really excited about, going to come in and compete with Scotty Fox. So it's a mix of both. I think you got to be able to do that, but obviously the key element to this all is you've got to be able to develop and retain them.
Talking with Keenan Cummings from West Virginia here on Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio, heard exclusively on TuneIn. Defensively, what does the roster turnover look like on that side of the ball, and who are some names to know?
Yeah, they've had quite a bit there, too. I think that's the nature of the beast. When Rich kind of inherited this thing, there was a lot of turnover from the year prior. And then you had guys into the transfer portal, as you do with any coaching situation. So they had to kind of go out and get guys just to fill the roster last year. There were a lot of one-year guys. West Virginia had, I believe, 39 seniors exit. So they had to go out and get positions. And I think it was important to find guys that have experience, guys that can help them, And I think they've been able to do that at some key spots. They've been able to get some linebackers that I think can play. Malachi Hood, he started games at Illinois. Kamari Wilson is a safety that they were able to get from Memphis. Had a big year last year. I think he had 84 tackles, 6.5 tackles for loss, and 2 picks. Andrew Powdrell, another experienced DB. And you can kind of go down the list there. That they've gotten some good guys, I think, that are going to be able to come in and help. And they need that. I mean, they've got some young talent on the roster and are bringing in some young talent. But that experience, they brought a guy with them. He played for them at Jacksonville State for a few years, Jameer Latimer. And he played at Wisconsin last year. Didn't follow Rich initially, but now is coming back to West Virginia. He has experience in the scheme. He's a defensive back that's played multiple spots, can play corner, can play nickel. And I think you have to have guys like that kind of as you build the program and transition.
Why did Rick Trickett not come over with Rich Rod last year?
That's an interesting one. I mean, I think he wanted to stay, with his son there and kind of work things out. And it's a massive coup for West Virginia. You don't have to tell West Virginia fans who Rick Trickett is.
Right.
They're very familiar with him, very familiar with his work. The offensive line was a problem for West Virginia last year. Some of that was personnel. Some of that was just it just never clicked. And, Rich had kind of that, I guess, viral moment, after Arizona State where he kept saying, this much, that much, because they struggled in short yardage situations. And it became kind of apparent that was going to be a focus. West Virginia was going to fix their offensive line to their best ability. And as I mentioned at the top of this, they went out and got some talented offensive linemen that I think obviously have completely restructured what that group is going to look like, as you head into the spring and the summer. And then you get a veteran offensive line coach that's, quite frankly, guys, one of the best to ever do it, that has experience with Rich, knows West Virginia. And I think that's your steps to kind of fixing their biggest issue last season.
Yeah, I like that move. Bring in a bunch of guys that were blocking for Cam Cook last season at Jacksonville State. Keenan Cummings joins us here on Big 12 Today. We saw that Jaheim White is transferred out. He's headed to North Texas to be reunited with Neil Brown. But in terms of departures, like how many starters are gone and who are key guys that are back next year for West Virginia that maybe we thought would be in the portal?
I think it was important for West Virginia. We've talked about offensive line a lot, but it was important for them to keep some continuity up front. They're returning their starting center, Landon Livingston. Nick Cray is back, which I think is important. Jaden Bray. It actually, if you look at the statistics now, the room has been decimated with departures and either by the transfer portal or graduation. He returns all of your production from last season, not including transfers, and he played 1 3/4 games. But he's a guy that West Virginia had big expectations for last year. He got hurt. The same injury he actually had the year before, kind of an unfortunate situation. He was able to get surgery there, and I think that there's pretty high expectations for him, moving forward. I think he's a guy that can really help. Obviously, Scotty Fox is back. The quarterback started quite a few games for West Virginia. He's going to help him. And at tight end, that whole room kind of cleared out except for Ryan Ward, who you look at his stats were kind of limited, but he was obviously third in a three-man pecking order, but is a guy that West Virginia is really excited about for the future. A transfer for North Carolina, had 6 catches for 41 yards and a touchdown, and kind of like I was mentioning on some of the other positions, that is your returning production. But I think there's a role for him moving forward.
Curious, Keenan, are you optimistic about the upcoming season? What do you think is the ceiling for this team? What do you think is realistic?
I want to see how they close out some of these remaining needs, but I do think they've done a good job when it comes to building. I think that they're taking an approach where obviously they want to win now. I think you can look at some of the guys they've added, several one-year guys. You don't add one-year guys if you're not trying to win now. I think that they're going to take a step forward. You look at the roster that Rich had to work with at times last year due to injuries and some of the just really unfortunate situations. West Virginia got to the point toward the end of last year where they were having to play one of their linebackers at running back just to fill out depth and injuries to the offensive line. They played 5 different quarterbacks. I don't think you're going to see a lot of that. And he still was able to win 4 games and had a chance to win a few more. So I think you're going to see some steps forward from West Virginia. How much? That's the question. And I think that some of that needs to be answered in terms of how this team's going to gel and some of these last remaining needs, because I think they obviously need a couple more. They need more juice. I mean, is there a such thing as having too many pass rushers, guys? I mean, there's not. You need to find more pass rushers. You need to find some defensive linemen. But they did go out and get some talented guys from the junior college level that I think when you look at this, sometimes fans are thinking, well, they got transfers, they got freshmen, and people kind of forget about some of those junior college guys. But I think they have a chance to help them up front.
Are they done for the most part, or how many more guys do you think they might add?
Well, that's kind of a funny story because, throughout the offseason, Rich talked about building the program through high school guys, finding those guys that were going to be able to, I guess foundational was the key word. And, the buzz was 10 to 15 impact transfers. Well, we're already at 27, and I don't think they're done. I think you're going to see several more added by the time this thing is done. And obviously, the transfer portal closes today, but that doesn't mean it's done. You're going to continue to have guys visit. You're going to continue to have guys added to it. They still have some spots to fill, and I think you're going to see them do that over the course because there's still some very good players in the portal and some guys that I think could really help the program out in 2026 and beyond.
Before we let you go, quick check-in on men's basketball and how West Virginia fans are feeling about year one of the Ross Hodge era.
Yeah, I think overall it's been pretty good. Ross has really kind of acclimated himself here pretty quickly. He gets it. And I think that's important if you're coaching at West Virginia to get it, get the people, get the environment, and kind of understand that aspect. I think if you're being honest, West Virginia would like to have a few games back earlier in the year. They led by Clemson. They led at Clemson double digits. They led Ohio State double digits, lost both those games. You win those two games, and instead of around 70 in the net, you're significantly higher. But obviously, they've seen potential. The win over Kansas, the first-ranked win for Ross Hodge here, was a big win. Gives the program some motivation, and they got a really big one tomorrow against Colorado. If West Virginia is going to make a run at this and kind of stack some things together, they've got to be able to take care of home. And so far, they're undefeated at home. So they've done that, and now it's kind of taking that next progression and finding a way to win on the road, which you guys know is no easy task in a league like this.
No. Yeah.
Yep. Well said. Keenan Cummings, good stuff, man. WVSports.com. Writes for On3 in West Virginia, Heisman Trophy voter. He is the man in Morgantown. We appreciate your time, Keenan. Thank you.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Keenan Cummings covers West Virginia, gives us the inside track on the Mountaineers. Went very heavy in the trenches during the portal season. Added a high-level running back in Cam Cook. What was your number one takeaway from what we just heard?
Yeah, I mean, he's more optimistic, I think, than we are, but for good reason. I mean, he mentioned the addition of Rick Trickett, how big of a deal that is. And then I think that in conjunction with the players, he's pretty optimistic along the offensive line. So if those two things come together, West Virginia's going to be a lot better than we expect, just based on offensive line play alone. So, we'll see. And we also talked with him about the young versus old piece, and he said there's a balance there, and we'll see. This is the optimistic season, right? Now is the time where everybody's optimistic because you're adding players. I mean, the big thing here is what NIL and the transfer portal have allowed for or afforded for is the belief of a quick turnaround. Whether or not it comes to fruition, this time of year where we don't know that. And so you're adding players, you're looking at the positives, you probably don't see many of the negatives. And, I think that's what we saw there from Keenan.
And the name Rick Trickett. So he was not on staff last year. Great insight from Keenan that his son was playing at Jacksonville State, and he wanted to see him finish out his eligibility. But he is Mr. West Virginia. Like, he played at West Virginia. He was with Rich Rod the first go-around from 01 to 06 as the associate head coach and offensive line coach. Then he was at Florida State. He's been at Mississippi State and Auburn. Like, he is a offensive line savant. And he's back in Morgantown. Huge addition for the Mountaineers. He's Ari Timken. I'm James Westling. Coming up next, we'll continue some of our men's and women's basketball weekend previews. Also, On3 has ranked the Big 12 the best jobs in this league, 1 through 16. And actually, this was voted on by anonymous coaches in this very conference. So we'll touch on that. Before we talk with Kelvin Sampson, the men's basketball coach at Houston, he joins us around 9:30 Central Time here on Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio and on Big 12 Studios.
All Reds as the Knights armored in white here tonight. As first 3 seasons there and coming home to the Buckeye State. Now the runner in the lane. That was Leah Harmon. Can't get it to connect. DeVillisi on the run as she throws up in and gets into the hands of Maya Perry.
She gets to a good spot.
DeVillisi now with a game-high 7 points. Step back off the dribble as Harmon, and that is too pretty right there. Here's Chandler Roberts. And now Harmon with 6 to play on that shot clock. Gets into the lane. Harmon driving. Harmon is able to flick it up and in. Maya Perry looking, finding DeVillisi.
Got on the elevator.
Here is Perry. The 3 on its way is up and it is in for Maya Perry. The inbounder gets it back and is able to strike.
Gotta have an awareness on Perry. She's gonna look to get one off.
The step back. Perry is able to strike again as Maya Perry. Woman here for UCF. Got to get the quick shot off.
This is one of the toughest places to inbound a basketball. Really hard.
As it gets deflected and then taken here for the Bearcats. As she's got 24 points here tonight. Perry. DeVillisi quickly fouled by Leah Harmon. Just under 6 seconds away from getting their second Big 12 victory here of the season. And DeVillisi putting this out of reach.
Big 12 today, hour number 3 of the program here on Big 12 Radio. Heard on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios. We've talked with Norm Roberts, former St. John's and longtime assistant coach at Kansas under Bill Self. We had him in hour number 1. And then just moments ago, Keenan Cummings, the managing editor for WVSports.com, Heisman Trophy voter, writes for On 3. And Kelvin Sampson will be our next guest here at the bottom of the hour. So in about 20 minutes or so, we'll chat with the Houston men's basketball coach to talk about their start and once again flying under the radar. This is about the same time last year where they really kind of started to put people on notice. Remember, they had those 3 non-conference losses. Everybody wrote them off. Well, here they are once again outside the top 10 in the net and KenPom, despite having just 1 loss on the season. So I'm sure Coach Sampson will have a lot to say.
Well, and it's crazy to think back. I think there's been a lot written that, Houston is 38-4 now in Big 12 play since joining the Big 12, and they started 1-2. So they're 37-9 or 37-2 in their last 39.
That's amazing.
Yeah, like the 38-4 record is insane, and even more so when you consider that they started 1-2.
That's wild. So his first year in the Big 12, they started 1-2.
You know how many Big 12 losses they had that year?
2?
2.
Wild.
Yeah. So they good. They real good. And they would be a bigger story if Houston had a bigger brand.
Speaking of brands, what brand is that T-shirt? I like it. I'm a fan.
Home Field.
Oh, they got good stuff.
Not a sponsor.
Should be. They got great Big 12.
Should be. They're not. We don't need to give them love.
Okay, we're anti-home field, apparently.
Expensive shirts.
Ah, got it.
Sorry, this is Homage. Also not a sponsor.
Homage, home field. Which one is it?
Right, it's Homage. Home Field, Homage. Home Field does not do pro sports.
Got it. Just college. College only.
Yeah.
All right, well, speaking of brands, so the field is of 68. They've been doing a series where they rank every men's basketball job in every league, and they do it by anonymously polling veteran coaches in each conference. So they talk to head coaches, they talk to assistants. There's no specific parameters. Each coach can kind of use their own set of things to determine their list from top to bottom, but then they compile it all and they rank it. So the Big 12 job rankings. The best job, according to coaches in this conference, is
Kansas.
No surprise there. Actually, is that a surprise?
No.
Okay. Number 2 is Arizona.
I mean, are you surprised?
No.
You surprised it's not K-State?
No, I'm not. Arizona, number 2. Texas Tech, number 3.
Well, an anonymous coach, by the way, on Kansas says, quote, "It's not just the best job in the league, it may be the best job in the country."
The country?
That was an anonymous coach in the Big 12 saying that about Kansas.
It's a pretty good job, I'd say. Better job than Duke, better job than North Carolina. Tells me they've got the history, the pedigree,
the money, resources,
Fieldhouse, and then the money.
Yeah.
They got the money. All right, so Texas Tech, number 3, BYU, number 4, Houston, number 5, and then it gets interesting with Iowa State, number 6, Baylor, 7, Cincinnati, number 8, Kansas State, number 9, ahead of West Virginia at 10, TCU at 11, and then 12 through 16 goes Arizona State, Oklahoma State, and the bottom 3, Utah, UCF, and Colorado. 1 through 16, anonymous Big 12 head and assistant basketball coaches rank the best jobs in the Big 12.
Surprised Texas Tech at 3. That may be the one that's most surprising, considering Kansas and Arizona are the quote-unquote blue bloods, so we should be surprised by that. Are we surprised that Texas Tech is 3?
Why is that surprising to you?
I don't know. I mean, it feels like a new era type thing. Now, look, Texas Tech has been to a national championship game. They did it under Chris Beard. Mm-hmm. Based on the success that they had with Chris Beard, Dusty Womble, who has a ton of money, invested in their practice facility, which has allowed for them to have great facilities. So it's not surprising as much. I shouldn't say that. I said, are you surprised by this? I guess, I look at, programs like West Virginia, Like West Virginia is the only dog, the only show in town. West Virginia University Athletics. Texas Tech, right? I mean, that they're competing with other schools in the state of Texas. Like, there's just a lot of competition there. So I guess that's what I'm intrigued by. Like, West Virginia has some history with basketball. They obviously, I mean, Jerry West played at West Virginia. They've had some success. They've been to a Final Four, been to a couple Final Fours, I think. So when you get West Virginia's 10th on this list, so it feels like 10 years ago, West Virginia may have been 3rd and Texas Tech may have been 10th, and that's switched.
It's a really good point. For Texas Tech being this high, I think it comes down to the facilities, the United Supermarkets Arena, and just the fan support they have there, and then admin buy-in and NIL. There's a lot of coaches that would love to have those three things and those type of resources to pay a guy like JT Toppin, who, if he's at a lot of other programs, is probably in the NBA because he still would have been a fringe first-round NBA draft pick, and he comes back because he gets a sweet deal from Texas Tech to further refine his game, and it hasn't moved the needle in a bad way when it comes to his draft stock in any way. BYU at number 4, national brand, global reach, NIL. I think a lot of this list is dictated by NIL. Houston at number 5.
I also think part of this needs to be how much do people care about football relative to basketball.
Okay.
I mean, again, this is best jobs for coaches, right? So if you think about it from that context, like, I think if football drives the bus at your school, which does at a lot of these places, that's going to diminish. Like Kansas and Arizona are two of the few in the country. Duke, right? Like North Carolina, not as much. Like basketball drives the bus for those universities in terms of like fandom, resources, etc. So like I think that's part of this too. Is like what schools are they like just don't care at all about basketball? And buy-in.
Sure. Which I go to the middle of this list, and there's 3 schools that are log-jammed together that are sneaky good jobs, and that's Cincinnati at number 8, Kansas State at number 9, and West Virginia at number 10. There are a lot of guys who would want any of those 3 openings. Cincinnati has a ton of Midwest hoops culture. They have so much history. They have a fan base that really wants basketball to be good. Same thing for Kansas State. Kansas State has a ton of older guys that are basketball first, that are deep pocket investors in that program, and they have a top 10 roster financially in the country. That's why they've been able to get guys like Coleman Hawkins last year and P.J. Haggerty this year. And Tom Crean, who was with me on the call the other night, we were talking about K-State, and he said, man, if that job opened, there are a lot of coaches that would want that job because of the NIL support.
How many of these would rank in the top 10 or top 20 nationally?
I would say Kansas would definitely be in the top 10.
Arizona
would probably be in the top 10 with their resources in that West Coast California dominant recruiting pipeline. Would Texas Tech and BYU be in the top 10? I think it'd probably be close.
I don't know if they're top 10, but top 20, certainly, yes. I would think.
I think from a financial aspect, the Big 12 is very invested. Like these schools, I mean, BYU's outbidding teams for A.J. DeBonsa. Texas Tech is keeping JT Toppin and Christian Anderson happy and right there in Lubbock when they could have gone anywhere in the country. So the player retention plus all the freshmen coming in, I don't think that's by accident.
How about Colorado at 16? Somebody's got to be 16th, right?
Yeah, I'm not surprised by that. Colorado's a tough place to win, and Tad Boyle is one of the most underrated.
I agree with that.
Okay.
Like Colorado, look at how many tournament appearances they've made in the last decade. It feels like, no, are they consistent? No, but more consistently than a lot of these other programs that are listed here.
But I think that's all Tad Boyle. Like their arena needs a massive overhaul. They don't have a ton of NIL for basketball.
Yeah.
Pre-Tad Boyle, that program was gutter.
Yeah.
Which is why I say he's one of the most underrated coaches in America, because you talk about winning more with less. Nobody's done it better than Tad Boyle. Even having them in the conversation to make the NCAA tournament. All these guys he put in the NBA were 3-star recruits.
Yeah.
Diamonds in the rough.
Yeah. Also, I mean, you mentioned K-State, and Cincinnati, K-State, West Virginia are like really interesting to me because of how far they've fallen. I mean, you think about that Cincinnati job of like historically, like, you know, Cincinnati, K-State, West Virginia are three pretty good basketball programs that have some decent winning. You mentioned K-State's ever been to a Final Four. I brought that up just to bring it up again. But other than that,
But, man, we've been to a lot of Elite Eights.
a lot of Elite Eights.
Tons.
Including Jerome Tangs' first year. Maybe he'll get back there this year.
This year?
I can't stop myself from talking smack. I'm sorry.
It's fine. 0-4.
It's okay. We're having a K-State type season, too, at Kansas.
Yeah, there's two teams that are 0-4 in the Big 12, Kansas State and Utah. And you could make a case that Utah's been more competitive. I mean, Kansas State they're down. They're down. Where do they go from here?
Do you think Jerome Tang is purposefully sabotaging so that he can get fired and get a buyout?
$12 million buyout?
I'm not interested in being successful as a coach. I just like my buyout.
I'm over this. Yeah. No, I don't. But it's head scratching.
Thank you for answering the question, by the way.
It's head scratching.
Yeah. I feel bad for you, buddy. I do. I genuinely feel bad for you.
3 years in a row, you've had a top.
Like, that's where we're at. Kansas State fans. Like, you don't even feel bad for me in football, but I feel bad for you in basketball. Kansas State's won like 70 straight in football, and you don't feel bad for me, but I feel super bad for you in basketball.
It's been rough. Like the UCF game, I think UCF led almost wire to wire. I mean, K-State that's a game at home. There's not a lot of fan support. Like Bramlage Coliseum was empty.
I mean, and that's it. Like Kansas lost to UCF at UCF. K-State lost in an empty Bramlage.
At home. It felt like a scrimmage.
But he is 3-0 against KU. At home. Jerome Tang. Hang a banner.
Who wins that one this year?
Kansas State, James.
PJ Haggerty could go for 40 and they win the game. For some reason, and I know it's your rival, you're going to put your best foot forward, but K-State just makes shots that they don't make anywhere else against Kansas the last 3 years.
Yeah, it's annoying.
I have to ask this question. Ari, how will you feel if Kansas State wins that game because Darren Peterson didn't play down the stretch?
I think you know how I'd feel, T. Chains. I think you know how I'd feel. How would I feel? Great, T. Chains. I'd be celebrating. I'd be throwing a party.
Oh, that's good.
Well, you just said you felt bad for James. So I had to bring up that scenario.
Well, I wasn't being serious. I didn't really feel bad for him.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't feel bad. He loves it.
I do.
He loves it.
I just look at the K-State score and I just start laughing.
Loves it.
And then I'm like, all right, I need to find a tweet that's funny that I can send to James.
There's some bangers out there, including there's only one man that can save this program.
I sent that one last night.
Bob Huggins.
72-year-old Bob Huggins. Like, that's where K-State is right now. That 72-year-old Bob Huggins is, at this point, like, yeah, sign me up today. Can he be in Manhattan tomorrow?
Bob Huggins for K-State basketball could be what Kyle Whittingham will be for Michigan football. Give us 2 or 3 good years. Set it up for the next guy. I mean, it's remarkable. And then that was a punch in the face that Bob Huggins is 72. He's 72 years old. I thought he was like 65. Well, when did that happen? All right, Big 12 women's basketball this weekend. On Saturday, you've got K-State at Texas Tech, Utah at Houston, Baylor at BYU, Kansas at Arizona State, and Arizona at TCU. So there's not any ranked against ranked matchups, but maybe the biggest game in the league will be on Sunday, Iowa State at Oklahoma State. That game's on Fox, so it's nationally televised. It's at noon Central Time. Can Iowa State turn it around against an Oklahoma State team that, by their standards, maybe a little bit of a down year in terms of how they've started with the shots not falling?
Yeah, I mean, Oklahoma State just came off a nice win against my Jayhawks on the women's side, and Oklahoma State maybe not as good as expected, but Kansas too. I mean, that Kansas has had some of the best recruiting classes in the country the last couple of years, and they have 4 losses already in conference play, something crazy like that. Which is the best game on the women's side, do you think, this weekend?
I look at Iowa State and Oklahoma State because Iowa State's in a slide.
Yeah, they're
very different styles.
The slide right now.
Oklahoma State at home's been really good over the last 2 years under J.C. Hoyt. So I look at that one. 4 Big 12 teams are ranked. TCU's number 10, Texas Tech's number 17. Then you've got Baylor at 18 and Iowa State at 19. The Big Ten and the SEC are the only other two leagues that have at least 4 teams ranked. So I look at that one.
And then Kansas, Arizona State. Arizona State's been a huge surprise story in the Big 12 this year. They're 16-2, 3-2 in the Big 12. Kansas, meanwhile, again, pretty highly anticipated year. They're 11-7 and 1-5 in Big 12 play. It is just a huge disappointment considering, Samaya Nichols as a sophomore. And again, like they have a lot of 5-stars on this roster. And, Jalea Davis hasn't played that much. Maybe that's a big reason for it. But, yeah, with Elle Evans coming back and Samaya Nichols, this team has dramatically underperformed.
Oklahoma State's 4-2 in league. Iowa State is 2-4. So that's a big one. Iowa State's
they've lost 4 straight.
4 in a row.
Yeah.
4 in a row. All right, switching back over to the men's side, looking at the slate. Iowa State at Cincinnati is an intriguing matchup. TCU at Utah, that could be a real trap game for TCU because Utah's a different animal at home. And then Arizona at UCF, we touched on that earlier. Colorado and West Virginia is a massive game because somebody's going to be 3-2 and feeling really good about themselves. The winner of that one will be above 500 and in a good spot 5 games in.
So you mentioned this earlier. How many Big 12 teams are in the top 75 of the net?
75. We've got Arizona, Iowa State, BYU, Houston, Kansas, Texas Tech. That's 6. And then you've got UCF is 35th. TCU and Baylor are both in the top 45. Those are your teams cracking the top 69. West Virginia is 70th.
Got it. Okay, so that's...
I lost count.
8 teams, I think.
It was a lot.
Said. Yeah, I think you said 8 teams. And that's the top 70. I think the number that a lot... So what I'm getting...
10.
In the top 75?
10 in the top 75? Yeah. Top 75, Colorado 71, Oklahoma State 74.
Okay, so it's 10 in the top 70 is what you're saying.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think about where's the cutoff from the tournament standpoint. It feels like it's a long way to get to. I apologize. Long way to get to. The winner of this Colorado-West Virginia game will have a huge resume boost, and specifically Colorado. If Colorado wins this, it'd be a huge resume boost because it'd be a quad one to win.
Mm-hmm. Big game. Big game in Morgantown. Oklahoma State is 74th. They have to beat Kansas State if you're Oklahoma State. Kansas State is somehow, with a 9-8 record, 77th in the net. They're 0-4 in Big 12.
So it's not over for them yet?
No, it's not over.
By the way, I'm sorry. I can't stop yawning. I have not been able to sleep at all.
Okay, what's going on there?
I don't know.
Tell me more.
Just wake up, toss and turn, go back to sleep,
today.
Wake up again. It's been a problem. Maybe I should ask Kelvin Sampson.
You got some things on your mind?
No. That's the crazy part. No. I'm less stressed now than I've ever been.
Okay, so...
He doesn't sound like it.
It's not stressed related.
Or tired?
No, you sound... When you were yelling, you sound a little stressed. Just now. Sound a little bit.
When he was yelling about not being stressed?
Yes.
I'm not stressed!
I think,
sounds very stressful.
I don't normally like to highlight this type of thing, but I think all 3 of us are dragging a little bit today. We're a little bit under the weather. We're a little bit under the weather, so I give us a lot of grace.
I love how you said we. I'm fine. I'm just not sleeping.
Art, you're just that's a problem.
Yeah,
that's gonna have a direct impact on your efficiency.
I think I need to turn to drugs and alcohol.
I don't think that's the answer.
That could be a problem.
Okay. You're probably right.
I mean, what time are you trying to go to bed?
10?
10?
No, I fall asleep, then I wake up, and then I fall asleep, and then I wake up.
You're waking up mid-sleep?
All the time. Constantly.
We can get that turned around.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll take a trip to Natural Grocers. We'll get you all sorted out.
What are you going to do?
I got to do a little research. We'll get you some supplements. You'll sleep like a baby.
I will say I just read that, ChatGPT is going to have like a doctor ChatGPT side. So basically what ChatGPT has found, and I'm shocked by this, is that a lot of people are using it to basically input symptoms and try to get diagnosed with something. So I may have to turn to just Talk Doctor ChatGPT, which is going to be a separate platform, which is basically all medical science.
I don't know how that could go poorly.
Yeah, no, of course. The caveat being we are not equipped to diagnose anything. Please go see an actual doctor.
Man, this AI stuff.
Pretty wild,
AI
huh?
Stuff is wild.
But
have you seen the videos going around?
I have to stop myself from telling ChatGPT everything.
Yeah, because
like everything about you,
right?
Not only that, but I mean, if I put in like, hey, this, that, and the other about me, it's like suddenly you've created quite the profile of yourself that you've given to a robot.
I'm way past that.
Did you guys see the walking robot at DFW Airport that went viral online?
Yeah, was that real?
Yeah, that was real.
Here's what I don't get: what's our obsession with humanoid robots? We can make robots look like anything. In fact, most of the robots we interact with right now look like nothing. They have no physical presence. And yet we have this obsession with making robots look like people. Why? It's scary. We don't.
So
and it's weird because then we think about sentience. Like we don't think about that with any other robots because they don't look like humans. But when you see a robot that's a humanoid that's walking and talking and it's like, oh, they could have conscious thought. Yeah, because they look like us.
Yeah.
I think it goes back to our childhood. When we watch cartoons of robots, they look like people.
Well, remember we talked about the one that could be like your household companion?
Yes.
And like they do chores for you. It's like, doesn't need to look like a human. We don't need to make it look that realistic. That's freaky.
Yeah. Make it look less human-like and more
robot-like. Yes.
Yeah. This company, we'll get to it a little bit probably on Monday, but this Higgsfield AI that is blowing up on the internet because the videos, I mean, basically you can create these fake influencers all through AI. So you can send it a picture of yourself and then you send it a picture of what you want it to look like and it'll create that image. And so every hand movement, motion that you do, this AI-generated person who's completely fake and is AI-generated will follow your movements. I'm going to test it with me and you. I'll circle back next week.
Yeah. I mean, it's freaky. And for the cybersecurity training for our company that you were not on, despite it being mandatory.
What was that?
Shots fired.
Remember we talked about it? This is the one where they brought up
Oh, yeah, like years ago.
No, this was like earlier this year. It was the mandatory training, the mandatory company training that you were not on. Is this mic on? Want to make sure everybody's listening. I'm telling on James, but they basically brought up the fact that you can now do this very easily. That like if you think that the CEO of the company is video, calling you, there's a chance that it could be somebody else. Right, like think about that context.
We are so cooked.
So cooked.
We are done.
It's so over. And when you couple that, James, this is where it gets really freaky. And we got a break to get Kelvin Sampson on.
Yeah, we got to get.
People aren't leaving their houses anymore. Like when you look at like all of the metrics on like going to restaurants and being in physical spaces, like that, there's a major decline, and it's even hit our generations. It's not hit us as much as it hits younger generations. So as they get older, they're just not as comfortable with being in public spaces. A lot of this may even go back to COVID. So think about that. Like you couple all of this with the fact that people aren't even going in public spaces anymore, then the trust that you have, the things you see on the internet. Ooh, boy.
Does that mean less traffic? Less traffic on the roads?
It's one positive, I guess.
Major bright spot. All right, coach that's got plenty of bright spots with his young team is Kelvin Sampson, the head men's basketball coach at Houston. We'll chat with him after the break. This is the Big 12 Conference. This is a different league.
(42-41) in the series, and the Jayhawks win the opening tap. Bird being defended by Davis now. Kick out for three is up and good by Micah Gray. Kansas. Vandell inside right away to Julia Davis. There is the look they wanted. How about that shooter's touch off the back iron?
That is the hard part about the second halves of games. You're right in front of your head coach on the offensive end, so you need to play clean.
Oklahoma State going inside to start this second half. 3 buckets on the interior. Hurd. Vanessa inside to Davis. Shook free. Nice help by Hurd. Got a piece of the first one. Didn't get the second one, and Davis gets the and one. Nichols off the screen. Bird picks her up on the switch. Switch back to Whiting. Nichols changes speeds. Up and good, and a foul. 2 off for a very young career high. Inside, a cot with the and one. Got it down to the post on the mismatch with Sanaya Copeland. Bird on the drive through the lane with the left hand and one. Meanwhile, Oklahoma State doing what they do, balance scoring, 4 in double figures tonight. They have 7 players in average double figures, and then Jane Wooten off the bench, another of the double figure scores. And that's going to do it as Oklahoma State will come into Lawrence tonight and get a road win. 85-76 over Kansas. Their second road win for Oklahoma State, and they get to 4-2.
Exclusively on TuneIn. With Ari Timken, I'm James Westling. You're watching us on the Big 12 Studios, the Big 12 Fast Channel, powered by Modelo. We welcome in the always entertaining Kelvin Sampson, the head coach at Houston. Coach, good morning.
Good morning, Ari. Good morning, James.
So you guys are playing on Sunday. What does that mean in terms of what's Saturday going to look like for you as all these other Big 12 games are taking place?
Yeah, just day before. Our schedule doesn't change much. Last year in the Final Four after the Duke game, the day in between Sunday was our 117th practice.
Wow.
Today will be number 73. So as you go through a season, there's a rhythm to it. It takes a while to get there, especially when you're playing a bunch of freshmen, because the things you say to them from June to August are just hollow words. Then by the time you get to January, it starts making sense to them, and then they jump in, and now the whole team has a rhythm. So there's a lot of patience, a lot of work, a lot of teaching. But we all get to this point in the season where practices are shorter, more intense, right to the point. Preparation for the next game becomes paramount. But whether your day before is a Monday or Saturday, it's still the same.
Mm. Have freshmen changed in your years of coaching? I mean, obviously the names are different and the era is different, but are some of the same techniques to get through to freshmen the same as they always have been?
Well, their lives have changed. The freshmen that I had in the 80s and 90s and 2000s are different than the freshmen in the 2020s because of the tenor or the pulse of recruiting with this era of NIL and transfer portal. There's so many more things they have to navigate. But once you get on that 94-foot slab of rectangular wood, they haven't changed much. They choose to come to a school for a reason. And once the whistle blows and you start in on the teaching, the practical application, understanding what it takes to show up every day and play for something bigger than yourselves and the buy-in that requires, I don't think it's changed much.
Kelvin, you had a comment the other day. I think a local reporter asked you about maybe it was the Darren Peterson situation or something about parental involvement with student athletes in today's era. And I think you said you haven't talked to a parent in over 5 years. So what does that say about the trust that these families put in you as a person and as a coach and the type of kids that you recruit? Well,
when we recruit a young man, it all starts with evaluation. Do we want to coach him? And if we choose that's the kid that we want to go after, then we're 10 toes in. Then once we go from recruiting to signing, we realize that's the kid we want to sign. We talk to the parents. We go into their homes. We sit down. And I let them ask me any question they want. If you're at a high-profile program, there's really no secrets as far as what they see during the games. But there's also a trust factor that has to be calculated for the parents. And one of the things I tell them is, don't choose a school, choose a coach. Schools are all great. There's no such thing as a bad degree. I graduated from a Division II school in North Carolina, and that degree has done me well. So at this level, if you're choosing to go to Kansas, you're choosing to play for Bill Self. If you go to Colorado, you're choosing to play for Tad Boyle. And if you come here, you're choosing to play for me. And then you lay out the things that are hard to say. If you trust the coach, then trust him. And if you don't trust him, then choose another coach that you will trust. But if you do send him here, there's not going to be weekly updates on how little Johnny's doing. There's not going to be any why Johnny didn't get more shots or why little Johnny's not starting. Those conversations are not going to happen. So if that's a big part of your involvement in a program, that's the involvement level you want to be at, then choose a school where that can happen. But if you choose here, this is how we operate. And I think if you're honest on the front end, they know exactly what they get into, so they make the choice. The fact that we've had 4 kids in our top 10 transfer over a course of 11 years, I think speaks a lot to the parents, the young men we choose to recruit, and the culture we have in our program.
Well said. Kelvin Sampson joining us here on Big 12 Today, Big 12 Radio. I remember your first media days as a member of the Big 12. You were talking about the difference in maybe the American versus the Big 12, and you were saying there's some, maybe some smaller dogs in the American Athletic Conference when you're walking around media days, but at the Big 12 it was all the big dogs. It's the Rottweilers and the Doberman Pinschers. Is this version of the Big 12 as good as it's ever been since you've been in the league?
Well, you have to remember I was in the league when it started in 1997.
Yeah, fair point.
Through 2006, and my first go around, there was 4 teams that went to the Final Four: Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, Kansas, and Texas.
Yeah.
I don't think the league is any better at the top now than it was then. I think what's different is the middle to the bottom. There is no bottom in this league. All the teams are good. So I think the parity of the league is outstanding. But I think you have to, give a shout out to the administrators, because they all hired outstanding coaches. They've supported them for the most part at a highly competitive level, which gives us all a chance to win. The rules has leveled the playing field. That's why you can have a non-traditional school like in Indiana compete for a championship in football. A lot of that has to do with the way the rules have changed, but more importantly, they chose the right coach. That guy's a generational coach, but he's at a school that wasn't a generational player at the highest level. So the support they have there for that coach, I use that as an example because I think that's what's happening in a lot of our programs. You look at what BYU has done for Kevin Young, and look at the great job he's done. Iowa State with TJ. What UCF is doing with Johnny Dawkins. You can go up and down the spectrum, and from the top to the bottom of our league is very small. I look at what Oklahoma State has done in a very short period of time with Coach Lutz. So the Big 12 is tough. One of the things that you have to be able to handle is handle your losses well. Understand that there are opportunities to grow from a loss. We live in a world where there's so many platforms to complain, be cynical, make fun of, shoot down, whatever people do that use those platforms. But Theodore Roosevelt's poem about being in the arena, I think that rings more true today than ever, because coaches have to insulate themselves inside their program and do what's necessary to get their team ready to go to get ready for the next game. Lose a game, okay, you're going to lose games. That's not the end of the world. What's the end of the world is when you don't prepare for the next game. You may lose that one too. I look at our pockets of our schedule where if you don't play well, it's easy to go on a 3-game losing streak in this league because everybody's so good. But that speaks volumes about the Big 12. Last year when we were getting ready to play Florida, one of the things that helped us last year was playing in the Big 12, playing at Iowa State or playing at Kansas or playing at Texas Tech or playing at TCU. I mean, there's so many great venues and great coaches and great fan bases in this league. It's you're gonna take some hits, but if you'll use it in a constructive way, it can help your team.
Coach, so many people are highlighting the incredible freshmen that you've brought in. And then you've got these veterans, guys like Emmanuel Sharp and Milos Uzan and JoJo and everybody else. And you go on the road at Baylor and beat them by 22, and Milos Uzan goes 1 for 10 from the floor. Well, then he hits 5 threes against West Virginia, and you beat them by 30. So he's heating up. What have your conversations been like with him? How's his preparation been in terms of kind of turning around those shooting percentages this year?
I've had no conversations with him. I don't mention it. There's a pulse that a coach has on his team, but he has a pulse for each player. There's some players I may have said something to, but that's the same kid that made 5 or 6 threes in the championship game against Arizona when we won. He made 6 threes against Purdue in the game to go to the Elite Eight. He made 5 threes a couple of weeks ago against Cincinnati. So when I talk to Milos, it's never about his performance. It's about adjusting to his role as he's bouncing back and forth between a primary and a secondary ball handler because of Kingston. And trying to organize and keep things from a discipline standpoint. Milos has never had to worry about spacing because the ball's always been in his hands. So he's had to make some adjustments. Now, whether that has an impact on his individual performance, I don't know. I just know that I trust him. I trust Milos. And one of the things in coaching that you have to learn is you have to learn to coach with one eye open and one ear closed. If you're always reacting and seeing everything, then you're probably wasting your time. I know what to say and what not to say to our kids. JoJo's, you kind of wind him up and let him go. I don't say a whole lot to him. Emmanuel takes some tough shots, but he also makes tough shots. A lot of times when you're trying to overcoach or overreact, it's like that old quarterback. The Oakland Raiders used to have Kenny Stabler as their quarterback. He was fun to watch. He threw some interceptions, threw a bunch of touchdown passes. But if you spent your time trying to correct his interceptions, you're probably going to take away a lot of his touchdown passes. So I think every coach has a feel for his players and knows what makes them tick and knows how to give them confidence sometimes without saying anything.
Well, Coach, your team is rolling 16-1, coming off that huge win over West Virginia. Best of luck on Sunday. Always great to have you on the program. So, man, we're so grateful for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, James. Thank you, Ari, and God bless that 74-year-old guy that's up there shining down on us.
Yeah, shout out to T-Chains, our producer, Tammy Turner, who mentioned that Kelvin Sampson is one of his dad's favorite all-time. And Taman lost his father a couple years ago, who would have been celebrating his 74th birthday today. So
I appreciate that, Coach. Thank you.
Okay. God bless, guys.
Take care,
Coach.
Thank you.
Kelvin Sampson, men's basketball coach for the Houston Cougars, who are rolling a 22-point road win at Baylor, a 30-point win over West Virginia. Those are scores not to be taken lightly. Like, this team's legit.
Well, and I don't like to throw around the term great or greatness because then it diminishes those that are great. That's a great coach and a great human being, Kelvin Sampson.
Very much so. Hall of Famer. We'll recap that interview coming up next during the final whistle. He's Ari, I'm James. This is Big 12 Today, exclusively on TuneIn and on Big 12 Studios.
Check out the top plays from the Big 12 men's basketball starting five.
Graphic Haslam stressed in shooter-out today's spacing. There's Flemings exploding down the lane. He just flings it in.
Smart though. He's been struggling a little bit. Holding attention on top, and he took advantage.
Flemings doesn't take much to start that motor.
I just love his determination, his activity.
Not enough room to operate on the length,
no.
yeah. It's a pull-up. Flemings. Oh, he wanted it, and he got it.
Talk about onions. That kid, don't get attacked. Just relax a little. Petty's worried more about the screen and getting the blow-by than challenging the shot.
Under 2 minutes to go. Houston and Texas Tech stuck to each other.
This kid loves to take over. Wow.
Flemings again.
Get to his spot.
Flemings sizing up Petty. Sampson, don't you want it? He does want it. Flemings counts again.
The defensive end. Get another look at the other end from deep.
To open up Big 12 play over Texas Tech, and then a 7-point win at Cincinnati. Last weekend, Flemings, Kingston Flemings, with number 4, who Kelvin says is really our sensational star, even as a freshman. And right on cue, Kingston has had a day. To his fellow freshman Flemings. They look like upperclassmen.
You know, they're going to try to get more points in transition, but it's just those quick shots that have not worked out in Big 12 play very well. Coming into this one,
that Houston's the 3rd highest ranked team in this league nationally.
I mean, they need to have me do the rankings every week. I wouldn't make that kind of mistake.
Time, Big 12 today here on Big 12 Radio. He's Ari Timken. I'm James Westling. We just talked with Kelvin Sampson, the men's basketball coach at Houston. And just a peek behind the curtain, right before we came on the air live, Kelvin Sampson was knee-deep in a story about, of course, his little dogs and how they don't like cold weather and it's cold in Houston, and that's just the type of guy he is, man.
Yeah, he said he was walking his dog Roxy this morning, and it's a little chilly in the mornings, especially in Houston, and he's got about halfway down the road, and the dog looked at him and kind of looked back at the house. It's like, can you mind? Is this better for you or for me? Are you walking me or am I walking you? Because he's the best. I mean, he really is. I mean, and this is a league of really good coaches, great personalities, but the coupling of his experience, his smarts, his intelligence, his wits, his basketball knowledge, his psychological understanding, it's unprecedented. And I'm a Kansas fan. I went to Kansas. I'm a Kansas alum. But I was destroyed last year when Houston lost for Kelvin Sampson. And, I know he won't publicly, it's about the kids. It's not about him. And he's constantly talking about that and preaching that. I don't know how much. I mean, I'm sure winning a championship means a ton to him. And it doesn't mean a ton to his legacy. I think that stuff can be stupid, and it's defined by so many other things beyond the person, legacy, that kind of stuff. We think about that just in the context of sports, and I think it's so much richer and larger than that. But man, would it be something nice to really solidify a career? That's it. That's kind of the only reason I felt like his career is solidified. He doesn't need a national championship to justify how great of a coach he is. But for me, it would be the icing on the cake for a guy that, we've gotten to know a little bit, who's as good of a person and coach as you'll be around.
Absolutely. And in college basketball, yeah, there's upsets, albeit last year was the chalkiest tournament that we've ever seen. But historically, the data will show that teams that come up just short the year before, that return a lot of production, normally win it the next year. I mean, we've seen that time and time again. There are Cinderellas, sure, but when you get down to, the bones of college basketball, the best teams are the teams that win national championships. And he's got one of the best teams once again in the country. So it wouldn't shock me to see them right back at the end of the year.
I've been saying it all year. I'll continue to say it. The Big 12 is going to have at least 2 Final Four teams.
And I think the national champion.
Yeah.
The national champion will come from this league this year. If Vanderbilt's the best team in the SEC and Michigan's the best team in the Big Ten and UConn's the best team not in those conferences, the team that's going to win the Natty is in this league.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's probably going to be Houston. Maybe that's just because that's what I want.
Could be Houston, could be Arizona, could be Iowa State, could be BYU, could be Texas. Who knows? Who knows? It'll be fun. All right, that's going to do it for us and a full week of Big 12 today on Big 12 Radio. We're back on Monday, 8 a.m. sharp Eastern Time, 7 o'clock Central. He's Ari Timken. I'm James Westling for Anthony Smith behind the scenes on the video side. T-Chains, Taman Turner, our producer on Big 12 Radio, exclusively on TuneIn. We have been brought to you by Modelo. Have a wonderful weekend. We'll see you Monday. We're out.
Bear down, Chicago Bears.
Go Rams.